Where am I? Why is my crotch all wet? It's just water. I even thought it was something else. On the wooden raft, the youth abruptly sat upright. He stared blankly all around him. As far as the eye could see stretched an endless ocean. His white sneakers and jeans were soaked through with seawater. Judging by his surroundings, he was clearly no longer in his homeland. Lin Yi saw no point in asking unnecessary questions. At that moment, a grand voice boomed down from the heavens. Welcome all players to the ocean survival world. This world is fraught with danger and the unknown. Abide by the survival rules to understand this realm faster. Rule 1. Every player receives a random starting vessel. Upgrading your craft greatly boosts your chances of survival. Rule 2. Each vessel comes equipped with one fishing rod. Players can catch survival supplies through angling, but beware, you may reel in bizarre things. Rule 3. The fishing rod has unlimited uses. However, only your first 3 daily casts are protected by the rules. Greed can bring greater rewards, yet restraint is most valuable. Rule 4. Leclerc. Rule 5. When night falls, stay vigilant against oceanic creatures. Rule 6. Defeating another player lets you loot their dropped supplies. You may dismantle their vessel to obtain a portion of their resources. Discover more rules on your own. Once the announcement faded, Lin Yi reached a firm conclusion. He was no longer on Planet Blue. Like countless others, he had been transported to the ocean survival world. Sitting idle and waiting passively now was no different from waiting for death. This must be the fishing rod, right? Lin Yi glanced left and right, locking onto a fishing rod resting on the raft. It looked identical to the bamboo poles used by elders in the old days. He reached out and grabbed it. Instantly, lines of text materialized before his eyes. Novice fishing rod grade, common 1. Beyond 3 daily protected casts, angling can yield extra resources and catches. Description: maximum obtainable loot grade, no higher than 5 fine 1. Grades ranked ascending: common, fine, superior, premium, transcendent, peerless, epic, legendary, immortal, sovereign. Each tier spans 5 stars, ranging from 1 lowest to 5 highest. The novice fishing rod in his grasp belonged to the lowest tier. This shoddy thing? Without rule protection, one strong tug would snap it clean in 2. Freshly arrived in this world, Lin Yi already saw how harsh the ocean survival world could be. Without the protective rules, the rod would be completely useless. Instead of worrying about strange catches, he would have to fear breaking his only tool. To be safe, Lin Yi opened his interface to check his status. Profile, backpack, chat, trade events. The menu was clean, with only 5 tabs available. He opened profile, and his stats appeared clearly. Lin Yi combat power, tier F skills, none. That's all. Staring at the bare-bones stat sheet, Lin Yi was momentarily stunned. Accustomed to the elaborate stat panels of online games, he struggled to adjust at first. Tier F combat power must be the lowest rank there is. I just wonder what criteria determines these rankings. Lin Yi stroked his chin, lost in thought. After a brief pause, he familiarized himself with the remaining functions. The starting backpack held 20 slots. Items except materials and food could not be stacked. Careful space management would be necessary. Thankfully, the description stated item size was unrestricted, excluding special unique goods. He skipped over trade and events. They contained no usable information for now. Lin Yi then opened the chat channel. Local chat 997 users online. Help. Where's this place? Can anyone save me? Leaving a comment before this thread blows up. Holy hell. I got teleported here. How did the transfer even work? Is there a kind guy who can spare some food? I'll send leg photos. Don't fall for it, guys. I saw her posts earlier. Those legs look like pork knuckles. Even the street vendor would complain they're too fatty. Thanks for the heads up. That's basically a pig spirit in human form. I own a company worth 60 million. Whoever gets me out gets half my assets. Assets mean nothing now. Cold hard cash won't help you either. A bottle of mineral water is far more valuable. This is perfect timing for the survival game. I've only finished 2 out of 6 final exams. Exams done. Done and dusted. You won't outscore me. Mark my words. Guys, my fishing rod snapped on the 4th cast. Help urgent. It's simple advice. The rod is your main supply source. If it breaks, find a shaded spot first. Okay, then what? Then wait for death. What else did you expect? Are you kidding me? He scrolled through page after page, most messages useless chatter, until he saw exactly what he feared would happen. Sure enough, someone's rod shattered on their 4th unprotected cast. Losing their only way to gather supplies left them with little hope of surviving. Lin Yi grew extra cautious after reading that. Fishing rods could break, a stark warning. As these thoughts crossed his mind, A cold synthesized chime echoed. Ding. Host criteria satisfied. God tier choice system bound successfully. Ding. Novice gift pack automatically opened. Congratulations, host Lin E. You have obtained backpack expansion plus 40 slots, purified water times 10, steamed white buns times 20. The God tier choice system unlocks one 3-way choice daily. Rewards include upgrades, enhancements, resources, and special attributes. All 3 daily choices belong to the same reward category. A system. Lin Yi's eyes lit up the second he heard the voice. He quickly opened his backpack to confirm. Once certain this was not a hallucination, he let out a long breath of relief. He had braced himself for a grueling survival grind, yet the system showered him with generous supplies. Sniff, system, I'm genuinely touched. How about you become my son? Lin E rubbed his hands together with a cheeky grin. The system ignored his banter entirely, continuing to distribute rewards on its own. Ding. Today's reward category, enhancements. Host, please make your selection promptly from the options below. Rewards? Enhancement category. As the system voice faded, 3 selections popped up before Lin E. Choice 1, Novice Fishing Rod, minimum catch grade plus 5. Choice 2, Wooden Raft, sailing speed plus 30. Choice 3, Novice Fishing Rod, maximum catch grade plus 5. Lin E raised an eyebrow looking at the rewards. With so few items in his possession right now, 2 of the 3 options focused on the fishing rod. The difference? One raised the minimum catch quality, the other raised the maximum. This is getting interesting. Lin E stroked his chin thoughtfully. First, he ruled out boosting raft speed for the time being. That left the 2 rod enhancements. If I pick higher maximum grade, the best loot I can catch becomes superior 1. But raising the minimum grade would guarantee every catch is at least fine 1. Both choices carried distinct merits. Still, Lin Yi's gaze lingered on the first option. But there's no way to know the drop rates of this world. Boosting maximum tier means nothing if high-grade loot never appears. The first option guarantees consistent decent loot every single time. Lin E quickly settled on the more conservative strategy. Trapped in an unknown world filled with countless variables, steady guaranteed gains were clearly the optimal pick. Ding. Selection confirmed. Novice Fishing Rod, minimum catch grade plus 5 activated. With the notification, a faint glow flickered across the fishing rod in Lin Yi's hand. Its outward appearance remained unchanged, yet its stats silently updated. Novice Fishing Rod. Grade, Common 1. Beyond 3 daily protected casts, angling can yield extra resources and catches. Description: all caught resources are guaranteed to be, at minimum, fine 1 grade. Excellent. A fantastic upgrade. Lin E clapped his hands, far more confident about surviving the ocean world. He no longer needed to gamble blindly on random loot rolls. Let's cast the line. After waiting so long, he was eager to test the rod. Without further hesitation, he cast his line outwards. Whoosh. Splash. The hook arced through the air and plunged into the sea. No ripples stirred across the boundless waters. Lin E wondered exactly how fishing pulled physical supplies out of the ocean in this strange world. Then the float twitched. Lin E tugged backward on instinct, feeling resistance travel up the rod. It was only mild tension, barely any effort needed. Just like reeling in a palm-sized small fish, he hauled the catch up effortlessly. Angling success. Obtained. Material supply, crate fine 1. The notification chimed, and Lin E sensed a new item materialize inside his backpack. He checked and saw the crate resting quietly within his inventory. The pull feels so half-hearted. Still, fishing up treasure chests really does feel like playing a video game. Compared to real-world angling, there was far less fierce struggle. But that was irrelevant. Material supply crate. Grade, fine 1. Upon opening, select 1 reward from the list below. Timber times 100, iron or times 10. 100 timber units? How much is that exactly? Lin E wondered. An idea suddenly occurred to him. He focused his attention on the raft beneath him and pulled up its stat panel. Details for his vessel unfolded in front of him. Wooden raft. Level 1. Functions, none. Armaments, none. Upgrade cost, timber times 10. Just as I suspected. Raft upgrades require timber. Lin E snapped his fingers, everything clicking into place. He wasted no time opening the supply crate. Select timber. Upgrade. He completed all actions seamlessly. Bright light enveloped the raft beneath his feet. Lin E felt himself rise slightly, as if something lifted the structure from underneath. The shift was subtle, yet easy to notice against the water's surface. Upgrade successful. Congratulations, player Lin E. Your vessel has advanced to level 2. Now it was officially level 2. Evidently, special vessels like rafts followed different leveling standards from other items. Wooden boat. Level 2. Functions, none. Armaments, none. Upgrade cost, timber times 100. The vessel's interface showed few changes after upgrading, only a higher level and steeper resource cost. Yet the physical difference was tangible. The flimsy raft that threatened to tip over now sported a low wall around its perimeter. It stood roughly the width of a palm, offering vital safety. No more risk of rolling straight into the sea. The boat also expanded, granting extra room to move. Not bad at all. Lin Yi praised with satisfaction. He pulled a steamed bun from his backpack and took a large bite. One more material crate will get me to level 3. Lin Yi planned his next move as he regained energy. He soon finished his food and drank half a bottle of water. There was no shade anywhere under this blazing sun. Sweat soaked your skin within minutes. Lin Yi brushed off his hands and picked up the fishing rod for another cast. Whoosh. Angling success. Obtained. Crudely forged dagger fine 1. Angling success. Obtained. Material supply, crate fine 1. 2 consecutive casts rewarded him with another supply crate, exactly as he hoped. Combined with his existing timber, he possessed enough resources for another vessel upgrade. He also gained a fine-grade dagger. Crudely forged dagger. Grade, fine 1. A practical tool, usable for self-defense. Decent enough. Lin Yi ran a finger gently along the blade, testing its sharpness. It could not slice through iron, but it handled basic food prep with ease. This dagger will come in handy. Once my boat upgrades further, I'll definitely attract unwanted attention from other players. Lin Yi weighed the risks objectively, scanning his surroundings to check for threats. Nothing but open water as far as you can see. Anyone who spots me will target me quickly. Having a dagger for defense makes survival far safer. Lin Yi retrieved the timber from the supply crate and focused on his boat. Upgrade. The moment Lin Yi formed the thought, timber was consumed from his backpack. A full 100 units vanished instantly. Pale white light washed over the wooden boat. The glow appeared and faded faster than during the first raft upgrade. Upgrade successful. Congratulations, player Lin Yi. Your vessel advanced to level 3. The familiar notification announced the new tier. Lin Yi stared at his upgraded boat, overcome with delight. The craft stretched longer and grew slightly larger, yet one new feature surprised him most. What is this? Lin Yi touched the makeshift bamboo awning before him, unable to suppress his grin. A shaded shelter had appeared on his boat out of nowhere. Trapped on the endless sun-scorched ocean of the survival world, this arched bamboo cover was an absolute luxury. Ah, such a relief. Lin Yi laid back on the boat. The awning blocked the harsh sunlight above him. Sitting in the shade eased the burning ache on his sun-exposed skin. It felt as though every pore relaxed, breathing freely. He had never felt so comfortable. Level 1 to level 3 required a total of 110 timber units. Even if other players catch nothing but materials, it would take them days to gather that much. And without a steady food supply, most won't survive long enough. Lin Yi lay back, staring up at the awning and musing quietly. The system guaranteed his minimum catch grade, giving him stable resources. Unlike everyone else forced to scrape by from zero, he could only guess what hardships they endured. Others might find faster resource methods later, but that was none of his concern. Level 3 boat, fresh water, steamed buns. I've secured basic daily necessities. Lin Yi checked his backpack and nodded contentedly, then shifted his gaze back to his vessel. Light skiff. Level 3. Functions, none. Armaments, none. Upgrade cost, timber times 500. Whoa, 500 timber. That's a massive amount. Lin Yi raised his eyebrows, seeing the steep upgrade requirement. 500 units was no trivial sum. Even with his enhanced fishing rod, gathering that much would take at least 2 full days. There was also no guarantee every cast would yield material crates. Should I cast a couple more times? The thought crossed Lin Yi's mind, yet he quickly shook it off. No. If my rod snaps, the risk is not worth the reward. I'm already ahead of every other player. No need to gamble. Steady progress is key. Besides, my rod's minimum catch tier is higher, which means I face greater risks when angling unprotected. Think about it. 2 people fishing at sea. One reels in a common fish, while the other hooks a crocodile. Which angler faces greater danger to their rod? And I still have the system. Who knows what amazing rewards I might draw later? With that thought, Lin Yi solidified his decision. If you bite off more than you can chew, disaster will follow. Having sorted out what he should and should not do, Lin Yi turned around and opened the chat channel to gather information. Local chat 995 people. 2 more players died in less than half a day. Lin raised an eyebrow slightly as he read the prominent text in the upper left corner. Whether it was careless mistakes or reckless choices, the message was clear. There was never a moment of peace in this ocean survival world. He pushed the thought aside and focused on the public feed. 1 bottle of purified water for 50 timber. Serious buyers only. Are your water bottles or lids made of gold? Where do you expect anyone to find water right now? This came straight out of supply crates. If you think it's expensive, so do I. I'll take 1 bottle. Deal. 10 timber for 1 loaf of bread. Fair trade. Buddy, you're just daydreaming. Do you have any idea how pricey bread is these days? 500,000 marks? Even Louis XVI couldn't have imagined something like this. 666. There's a second stage? Can anyone spare some timber? I think I'm doomed. There's a shark right next to me. A shark? There's a jellyfish as big as a buffalo floating right in front of me. I don't dare move an inch. Is it not attacking you? I have no clue. Logically, its tentacles should reach me, but it seems afraid of something. Another rule, maybe? Does it only strike once you fall overboard? Or is there a newbie protection window? Beats me. All I know is I'm this close to giving up. The messages were chaotic, yet Lin still picked up valuable clues. Alongside obvious threats such as sharks and giant jellyfish were scattered fragments of information that were easy to overlook without careful observation. Just as I suspected, supply crates hold more than raw materials. Other players are getting purified water out of them too. He quickly extracted the key detail amid all the complaints. He had grown suspicious ever since he opened the material supply crate before. There was no obvious need to combine 2 partially overlapping terms, material crate and supply crate. Now everything made sense. Materials were used for crafting and upgrades, while supplies covered a far broader range. Food, minerals, and more all counted as supplies. When he thought about it, the logic checked out. Unlike daggers, whose quality was fixed, resources like timber only increased in quantity when they reached excellent 1-star tier. The idea of reeling in 10 bottles of water on a single cast sounded absurd, even more unbelievable than hauling up a treasure chest. Still, this was a minor point. Being transported into an ocean survival world defied all common sense to begin with. The principle was the same as the material supply crate. Treasure chests offered a choice of different rewards such as iron ore. Perhaps supply water crates operated under the same rules. I wonder if you can get cola or black tea out of them. Before he knew it, Lin was letting his imagination run wild. But he pushed the thought aside for now. His top priority was continuing to upgrade his skiff and secure his safety. Night fell, and moonlight spilled over the waves. Lin lay in the unfinished cabin, his mood easing slightly. He had used up his 3 daily fishing attempts and spent the rest of the time resting, yet he could not fall asleep. The sun blazed relentlessly. No matter which way he turned, the light stung his eyes even through his closed eyelids. Sleep only came when exhaustion overwhelmed him completely. He waited until the sun sank below the distant horizon before slowly standing up. He stared thoughtfully at his remaining stock. 9 bottles of water and 6 plain steamed buns. His supplies were limited. Lin was not foolish enough to trade them away for timber to upgrade the skiff. If he intended to trade, he would first need a steady, long-term resource source. These buns can keep me functioning normally for at most 2 days. The remaining bottles of water can stretch things out a little longer, but I won't be in peak physical condition. Lin assessed his situation objectively, without overconfidence. This was only the first day, and countless unknown dangers lingered. Selling off his food supplies so early would be a reckless move. Though I have to say, the nights in this ocean survival world get surprisingly cold. A sea breeze swept over, and Lin pulled his clothes tighter around him. Unfortunately, he only owned a short-sleeved shirt, far too thin to ward off the chill. Thankfully, the temperature difference between day and night at sea was not extreme. Otherwise, he would struggle. If I get the chance, I definitely need to find a blanket. Otherwise, this is pure suffering. Lin resolved silently. It hardly seemed fair that someone with a system faced such hardship. Before long, drowsiness washed over him. Lin shut down the chat panel, lay down in the cabin, and slowly closed his eyes. Soon, soft snores echoed out. Beneath the sea not far away, a dark figure slowly surfaced. Splash! Water parted silently to either side. A pair of blood-red, predatory eyes stared out, fixed firmly on the skiff. Yet the creature appeared wary of something. It circled the boat once, then slowly sank back into the depths. Gurgle gurgle, bubbles rose to the surface. Less than 5 seconds later, streaks of crimson spread through the seawater, resembling fresh blood. Hidden under the cover of night, it was nearly impossible to spot. After a while, a mangled fish tail drifted upward. It spanned roughly 2 palms in width. Judging by its size, the fish it belonged to was far from small. Lin Yi was already sound asleep, completely unaware of everything unfolding around him. He had no idea a man-eating monster lurked beneath the calm waves, watching him hungrily. If the beast had not held back out of caution, Lin Yi would have been in mortal danger. A single collision from it could rock the skiff violently. Day turned to night, and a brand new dawn arrived. The moment he woke up, Lin Yi splashed seawater on his face, then immediately opened the chat channel to follow updates. Local chat 981 people. Over 10 people died in just one night. Lin Yi's eyelids lifted in surprise. Though he had anticipated danger, the reality still shocked him. These were all living people. At least it confirms nights are far more dangerous. Lin Yi rested his chin in his hand, deep in thought. Players in the channel were discussing what had happened. Damn, 14 more brothers perished overnight. Count your blessings. The Titanic sent everyone tumbling like dumplings. Don't say that. Even if the ship sank, for all the seafood on board, it was like the Shawshank Redemption. Damn you. Don't hit me with that garbage first thing. As the saying goes, saving a life builds a 7-story pagoda. Don't worry, if you want karma, I'll keep the jokes coming even if the Titanic sinks. Go to hell. Reading your chat makes me feel like Xiang Yu, overwhelmed by the army of Han, surrounded by enemy songs on all sides. You too get lost. Lin Yi stared at the feed, his head throbbing. He felt overwhelmed, unsure where to begin reading. What even are these people talking about? Are there still sane humans left? He scrolled further down and finally found the information he needed. Everyone, do not stick your hands outside your raft at night. A giant squid nearly dragged me under last night. It's true. The same thing almost happened to me. I broke out in cold sweat just thinking about it afterward. A giant turtle. I saw a huge turtle covered in tentacles. Buddy, you must still be half asleep. Did you mistake a jellyfish for something else? Turtles don't grow tentacles. 1 bottle purified water for 60 timber. Serious offers message me privately. The price went up again? Take it or leave it. Then I'll pass. I've got new fishing attempts resetting. I can take my chances if I have to. You're robbing people. A regular 5-star material crate only yields 50 timber, and you're asking for 60? After browsing through the messages, Lin Yi grasped the general situation. It looks like the price of purified water won't keep rising for the time being. The reactions in public chat made this clear. While water was essential for survival, players could endure shortages temporarily. With luck, they might catch supplies during their 3 daily fishing attempts. As for seawater, anyone who drank it was begging for rapid dehydration and death. He also learned about the creatures that roamed after dark. A turtle with tentacles? I need to stay vigilant. Lin Yi stroked his chin and frowned. Others might dismiss the comment as a joke, but Lin Yi took it seriously. Nothing followed common logic in this ocean survival world. Judging everything by his old world way of thinking would only lead to disaster. Thankfully, I upgraded my vessel to level 3 early. I would have been at risk last night otherwise. Lin Yi wisdom pushed aside his thoughts and picked up his fishing rod once more. The next upgrade required 500 timber. He still had a long way to go. Before I start fishing, let me check what today's reward is. With that, Lin Yi summoned the system. The familiar interface popped up instantly. Ding. Today's reward category is Items. Host, please select your reward from the options below as soon as possible. Once the system's synthesized electronic voice faded, 3 choices appeared before Lin Yi. Unlike last time, when he upgraded an existing item, the system now offered 3 brand new objects. Option 1. Super Frying Pan, excellent 4-star. Durable build, sturdy enough to take hits and dish out blows. Can be wielded as a weapon in emergencies. Huh. Lin Yi stared at the first item in shock. His current dagger was only excellent 1-star, yet this frying pan reached excellent 4-star. Suddenly his dagger felt far less impressive. But there was more. When his gaze fell on the other 2 rewards, his breathing quickened. This is that. Lin Yi knew the prizes would not be ordinary. Option 2. Strange Flavored Bait, excellent 5-star. Grants 3 chances to specify the type of catch. Additionally protected by fishing rules. Wow, Lin Yi's eyes widened. While it was merely bait, paired with his novice fishing rod, it guaranteed excellent 1-star catches every time. Even better, these 3 attempts enjoyed extra rule protection. That meant he would never reel in dangerous, bizarre creatures. And the uses would not consume his daily 3 fishing chances. On top of that, the bonus feature, he could choose exactly what to catch. Shrimp, crabs, fish, jellyfish, squid, turtles, anything he wanted. Hold on. This item is fantastic and could fix my current food shortage. But to be safe, I need to check the third option first. Lin Yi calmed his racing heart. and shifted his gaze to the final reward. When he saw it, he froze completely. Option 3, Floating Guardian Find 2-star, Solar-Powered Defensive Sentinel. Engages hostile targets within a 7-meter radius. After reading the full description, shock melted into pure delight. A wide grin spread across his face and refused to fade. It's like getting a pillow when I'm sleepy. With this thing, the first 2 options can wait. Lin Yi snapped his fingers and disregarded the other choices entirely. A frying pan was not an urgent necessity, and he had other temporary food sources. The Floating Guardian, however, would safeguard his safety. It ran on solar power and required no maintenance from him. Even ignoring practical use, quality spoke for itself. The first 2 were excellent tier. Only the Floating Guardian was fine, and it was 2-star to boot. The gap in power was obvious. 3 fishing catches cannot compare to a Sentinel that keeps me safe non-stop. After weighing all pros and cons, Lin Yi immediately selected the third option. Whoosh. The next instant, a palm-sized sphere materialized in his hand. It spun gently, shaped like a miniature re-entry capsule. Its body was milky off-white, with a deep crimson circular lens in the center, surrounded by a black ring, seemingly the window for firing laser attacks. Floating Guardian. Tier, Find 2-star. Attack, E. Defense, E. Attack range, 7 meters. Solar-powered. 6 hours of charging enables 12 hours of patrol duty. Lin Yi looked over the stats in surprise. He spotted something familiar about the Floating Guardian's parameters. Its attack and defense ratings use the exact same grading system as my combat power. He compared the values closely. The comparison struck him like a sword piercing his chest. Both of the Guardian's stats were E grade, while his own combat power was only F. Damn it. If these ratings follow the same scale, does that mean I'm weaker than a Floating Guardian? Lin Yi did not know whether to laugh or cry. Losing out to a robot was embarrassing. On the other hand, the stronger the Sentinel was, the safer he would be. Fair enough. It's meant to save my life, so more strength is a good thing. Lin Yi thought for a moment and nodded slowly. It was undoubtedly beneficial for him. He wondered, if his combat power lagged behind the Guardian, how many other players could possibly match it? Let me figure out how to activate it first. Before Lin Yi could make a move, the sphere floating in his hand lifted off automatically. Beep beep. Floating Guardian activated. No hostile targets detected within a 15-meter radius. Entering standby charging mode automatically. In standby mode, the unit reactivates upon detecting threats or receiving the master's mental command, then enters a 1-hour patrol cycle. Lin Yi watched the notification with full satisfaction. Automatic threat detection, automatic standby. As long as there were no prolonged stretches of cloudy weather, the Floating Guardian could operate indefinitely. Not bad, really great. Pulling his thoughts together, Lin Yi turned toward the open sea. He flicked his wrist and cast his line skillfully. Whoosh. The hooks sank into the water, and Lin Yi waited patiently. Materials, I need materials, he prayed silently. To Lin Yi, only a sufficiently upgraded vessel could grant him room to survive. His level 3 skiff was cramped. He barely had space to roll over at night. Anyone hearing his thoughts would probably spit blood in exasperation. At this stage, most players were still clinging to level 1 rafts, with only a fortunate few sailing level 2 boats. They constantly feared falling overboard and dared not fall into deep sleep even when exhausted after dark, living in perpetual anxiety. Meanwhile, Lin Yi enjoyed a spacious cabin with shade from the sun. Yet he remained unsatisfied. Lin Yi was unaware of what others thought. He knew he could not grow complacent over these minor achievements. Upgrading his vessel was merely the beginning. He hoped to fill his 60-slot backpack with survival supplies to feel truly secure. A bite. Lin Yi's eyes sharpened abruptly as he watched the float twitch sharply. Making me wait this long? I've got to reel in something great. Lin Yi muttered under his breath and hauled the fishing rod hard with both hands. He already knew the first 3 casts were protected by the system rules, guaranteed excellent 1-star loot. Yet anticipation still bubbled up inside him. The next second, the system notification chimed. Lin Yi froze the instant he read the reward. No way. Could there actually be some hidden pattern here? Fishing successful. Obtained. Skill book lucky angling excellent 1-star. Huh? Wait, is this even reasonable? A look of surprise crossed Lin Yi's face. In virtually any game, skills were extremely rare prizes. Even without knowing all the rules of this ocean survival world, he assumed the logic would hold true. But against his expectations, he had just reeled one in, on a cast limited to excellent 1-star drops. Hold on, let me check exactly what this does first. With that thought, Lin Yi immediately learned the skill from the book and opened its description. Lucky angling. Rank, excellent 1 star. When catching supply crates, there is a 5 chance to trigger double loot critical strike, and a 1 chance to trigger triple loot critical strike. Oh, this skill is actually pretty interesting. Lin raised an eyebrow. He had thought it would be a mediocre passive, but there was a pleasant surprise. Every time he fished up a supply crate, he stood a chance to multiply his haul. The only downside was that it relied purely on random chance. There was no guarantee it would activate even after reeling in 100 crates if luck turned against him. Still, having it is far better than nothing. For Lin, this marked a promising start. Even if the skill never activated, he lost nothing by keeping it. On the flip side, a single successful proc would make the investment worthwhile. Multiple procs would be pure profit. Buoyed by this good start, Lin Yi's motivation surged. Lift rod. Cast line. He moved in one fluid motion. Now all he needed to do was wait quietly. Fishing successful. Obtained. Material supply. Crate. Excellent 1 star. Lucky bonus triggered. Additional reward. Material supply. Crate. Excellent 1 star. Wow, nice luck. It activated on the very first try. 2 consecutive notifications gave Lin a pleasant shock. Perfect. 1 activation already covers the cost. Everything after this is free gain. Thinking this, Lin promptly opened the crates. Instantly, 200 stacks of timber appeared in his inventory. Alongside the previous 90 units, they occupied only a single inventory slot. Spurred by the extra loot, Lin wasted no time and used his last guaranteed protected fishing attempt. Fishing successful. Obtained. Lunch supply crate. Excellent 1 star. Huh? What's this? When he heard the alert, Lin thought he might have imagined it. He reread the text notification to confirm what he had caught. It had not triggered double rewards like the last haul, but he expected nothing more given the fixed loot tier. Lunch supply crate. Rank, excellent 1 star. Upon opening, select 1 reward from the list below. Tomato egg rice bowl ×2, green pepper twice cooked pork rice bowl ×1, mapo tofu rice bowl ×1. Those rewards look amazing. Lin subconsciously licked his lips as he stared at the 3 options. He had survived solely on plain steamed buns all day, and his mouth craved richer flavors. Anyone would struggle to resist 3 hearty rice bowls in front of them right now, especially in this survival world where no one knew where their next meal would come from. Any proper meal with meat and vegetables was incredibly precious. On top of that, every option was a classic, wildly popular comfort dish. Tough choice, really tough. Especially the tomato egg rice bowl. There are 2 servings of that. After a short moment of hesitation, Lin selected the green pepper twice cooked pork option. It was not that the others lacked appeal. It was his calculated optimal pick after weighing everything. In this environment, overly spicy food isn't ideal. I need fat to sustain energy. If I can't find more food later on, the green pepper twice cooked pork bowl is clearly the best choice. Lin had his reasoning, simple as it was. As he confirmed his selection, a steaming hot rice bowl materialized before him. The wok fragrance of green peppers and rich seared aroma of twice cooked pork washed straight into his nose. After over a day of only steamed buns, Lin Yi's appetite roared to life. He could hold back no longer. Grabbing the chopsticks and spoon that came with the meal, he began eating heartily. Alternating mouthfuls of rice and savory meat, oil glistened on his lips. A bite of green pepper followed, and pure satisfaction spread across his face. Delicious. Quality carbohydrates. He ate like a starving wolf who had not tasted food in half a month, shoveling food rapidly, as if afraid someone would snatch his meal away if he slowed down. Only after he had finished most of the bowl did his pace ease. With something in his stomach now, Lin opened the public chat channel to browse messages. Local chat 980 online 2 whole days. I finally fished up a steamed bun. TCH, you've got it rough. I've already opened 2 loaves of bread. Half a bottle of purified water for 1 loaf of bread or steamed bun. Serious offers only. 50 units of timber for half a bottle of water deal? Sorry, I'm short on timber too, but I haven't eaten in more than a day. 400 jeans slightly plump girl offering 1 handshake in exchange for 3 steamed buns. Are you out of your mind? My elderly uncle from the village who drowned and soaked in water for 3 days didn't bloat as much as you. 3 steamed buns for that. Do you have no sense of market value? Or do you think you can sell yourself by weight? For 100 jean? Treating yourself like an expanding rice cake coupon. I thought surviving in this world was tough and stressful, but now that I've seen that weight comment, I feel so much better. Brothers lurking silently in chat, feast your eyes. Your wife has arrived. Your wife. Your wife. You're all just jealous of my beauty. I'm mad now. Price increase for steamed buns. Good heavens. I must have committed many sins in my first 30 years of life. Seeing this balances my karmic debt, I'll count it as accumulating good fortune. If Zheng Guanyu told Lu Zhishan he was cutting meat of that size, Lu Zhishan would worship him like an enlightened monk. If this were a novel, readers would demand the bookstore be shut down. Lin Yi had been happily enjoying his rice bowl, but nearly spat out his food reading this exchange. Good grief. Self-awareness goes a long way. How can this lady have none at all? Lin Yi silently gave a thumbs up. It was not admiration. He simply thought the situation utterly absurd. I suppose I must have done some bad things in my past life. Seeing this must be my karmic retribution. For the first time, Lin Yi realized that speed reading could be a curse. Unsightly content had slipped straight into his mind before he could prepare himself. From now on, focus on eating during meals. Avoid seeing weird stuff. Lin Yi's expression turned stern as he made a silent vow. A lesson learned. Yet deep down, he knew he would fall for the same trap again. Terrible content was often impossible to guard against. Like while watching shows or scrolling funny clips, unpleasant material could pop up out of nowhere without any warning. Lin Yi had suffered this many times before. Oh well, if fate wants to mess with me, there's nothing I can do. He waved the thought aside. After finishing the last bites of his meal, Lin Yi sorted through the critical information he had picked up earlier. Judging from these trade messages, purified water prices have climbed substantially. At first, 50 to 60 units of timber bought a full bottle. Now that amount only gets you half a bottle. Compared to yesterday, the price of purified water had effectively doubled. His gaze drifted to his inventory. He happened to have 2 empty bottles on hand. Should I trade 2.5 bottles of water for timber? Combined with my existing 290 timber, I can upgrade the skiff to level 4 today. But I can't be certain the remaining 5 bottles will last until I find another water source. Lin Yi pressed a finger to his mouth, deep in thought. His brows gradually knitted into a tight frown. He was genuinely torn. No matter how promising the trade seemed, it still carried risk. Running out of water and food would spell serious trouble for him. Risk it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. After only a brief hesitation, Lin Yi settled on his decision. Food shortages would only be temporary. He would definitely reel in more supplies within a few days. Upgrading the skiff to level 4 was his top priority. Only by securing his safety first could he plan for everything else. He typed out a message and posted it to the channel. Lin Yi, half bottle of purified water for 50 units of timber. Limited to 5 trades only. Message me privately if interested. He did not set a higher exchange rate because the chat messages gave him a rough idea of what other survivors could obtain. Ordinary 5-star supply crates yielded at most 50 timber. Only excellent 1-star crates doubled that amount. Under these conditions, timber's baseline market price was largely fixed. Raising the timber requirement by even 10 units would make trades far harder to complete. While Lin Yi possessed a surplus of purified water, he did not hold a complete monopoly. At this price, buyers might choose to wait and seek cheaper offers elsewhere. To avoid wasting time, he settled on this middle ground deal. The moment his message went live, the chat channel erupted. Whoa, 2.5 bottles of water? Some people are just blessed, huh? Tell me about it. I've only fished up 1 bottle so far. This stuff is incredibly rare. He's practically courting disaster. Even excellent 1-star crates only drop 3 bottles total, and he's willing to trade them away. Not necessarily. Maybe he got lucky and has extra reserves. It's just drinking poison to quench thirst. 1.5 bottles will barely last 2 days if he conserves strictly. Exactly. Everyone knows how hard purified water is to find. Mind your own business. He's free to trade, and I need water. Why are you all running your mouths? Right? We're all struggling to survive. Can you think before you type? Some in the public chat were filled with envy, others dismissive. Where there were people speaking ill of him, there were also those defending him. Players who desperately needed water and had no other way to get it grew especially anxious. Shortly after, several survivors messaged Lin Yi privately. Lin Yi replied to everyone who reached out, adopting an open-to-all approach. Just then, an aggressive private message popped up. A player named Li Yaoqian sent him an outright threat. Kid, I'll take all your water. I'll give you 10 units of timber for it. Don't be foolish enough to turn me down. Don't forget, posting messages in the chat reveals your live coordinates. If you dare object, don't blame us for tracking you down. It won't cost us more than a little time. Lin Yi raised an eyebrow. 10 units of timber? That was barely enough to beggar someone off. How audacious of him to make such a ridiculous demand. He wondered who this man was, some local tyrant or privileged brat speaking as if giving orders. From the tone, he appeared to lead a group. Still, Lin Yi had anticipated something like this. He understood well the rule. Never flaunt your wealth in a dangerous world. Putting this much purified water up for trade was bound to draw unwanted attention. Lin Yi's gaze sharpened. Just as the man claimed, a coordinate marker was displayed beside his username. It would be easy to overlook if you were not paying close attention. This was Lin Yi's first time using private messaging, and he had completely missed the feature. He had carelessly replied before noticing. Evidently, the man only grew bold after obtaining Lin Yi's location. Lin Yi suspected they were not overly far apart, and judging by his attitude, this was far from his first time pulling such schemes. He clearly understood distance well. I see. Fortunately, it isn't real-time positioning. Lin Yi's expression darkened, and he let out a cold laugh. A new sense of caution settled over him. He would have to check carefully before sending any future messages. But so what if they come for me? Lin Yi glanced sideways at his floating sentinel. He had yet to test exactly how powerful the equipment he fished up really was. With that thought, he recorded and sent a voice message. Lin Yi, idiot. Did it get censored? Lin Yi fell quiet, hearing the bleep that followed his voice line. The filter had blocked part of the message. Almost instantly, the other man replied. Fine. You brought this on yourself. Don't say I didn't warn you. You'll regret your arrogance today. Just you wait. Lin Yi could easily picture the ugly scowl on the man's face through the screen. Still, since the threat had come straight for him, he would not sit back passively. Lin Yi, wait and see. Thanks for the compliment. I've always looked great. Unlike you, go look in a puddle. Even your own urine can't stand your stench. You, sharp-tongued brat. Hearing how infuriated Li Yaoqian was, Lin Yi broke into laughter. He wasted no further words and blacklisted the man directly. He reveled in imagining the rage building inside Li Yaoqian with nowhere to vent. Threats? Lin Yi paid them no mind at all. His only priority was upgrading his skiff without delay. Closing the private chat with Li Yaoqian, Lin Yi continued negotiating trades with other survivors. The trading system acted as neutral middleman. Both sides only needed to place their agreed goods on the exchange. In short order, Lin Yi traded 2.5 bottles of water for 250 units of timber. For players who missed out on the trade, he did not turn them away outright. He offered them hope, promising to contact them again if he obtained more purified water to trade. That said, he had no intention of putting his remaining water up for sale. He needed it for himself. Even so, he wanted to keep these potential buyers on his radar. Naturally, that depended entirely on whether those unlucky survivors managed to stay alive long enough. 540 units of timber. That's plenty, with some leftover. Lin Yi counted his inventory supplies and nodded in satisfaction. Spending 500 timber to upgrade a vessel sounded extravagant. Yet it was not completely unattainable for other survivors. With good luck, most would gather enough within a few days. Still, Lin Yi suspected no one else would manage it nearly as quickly as him. Upgrade. At Lin Yi's command, the number of timber in his inventory plummeted sharply. The stack of 540 shrank instantly to just 40. The next moment, soft radiant light wrapped the entire skiff. Light stretched outward continuously, and even the bamboo awning rose higher. Upgrade successful. Congratulations, player Lin Yi. Your vessel has advanced to level 4. The notification chimed, and the glow faded away. A brand new vessel stood before Lin Yi. The formerly weathered hull looked coated in glossy brown waterproof lacquer, smooth and shiny. Thud, thud. When he tapped the surface gently, he could feel how rigid the material had become. It was far sturdier than his old skiff. The cabin space had expanded greatly, large enough for Lin Yi to roll around freely inside. And yet, it only looks a little bigger. Nothing particularly special about it. Lin Yi stroked his chin repeatedly, his frown deepening. He appeared somewhat dissatisfied. It was understandable. He had invested a full 500 timber, yet all he received was a slightly larger living space. While the extra room improved his safety margin, something still felt off. Compared to his previous upgrades, this one could hardly be called spectacular. It was almost underwhelming. But the very next second, as Lin Yi opened his vehicle panel, he suddenly froze. Huh? This thing, fishing vessel, level 4, functions, fish hold, armament, none, upgrade requirements, timber times 1,000. Iron or times 50. A fish hold. Lin Yi discovered a brand new function had been added to his vessel. He glanced left and right along the sides of the boat on impulse, and soon found what he was looking for. A precisely measured cover plate was fitted at the stern. So this must be the fish hold. Let's see what it's all about. Lin Yi muttered to himself, then ducked past the cabin and walked to the stern. He lifted the cover with a slight motion of his arm. A water-filled storage space, half a meter square, came into view, roughly the size of a 32-inch suitcase. At the same time, a system prompt popped up. Fish hold, level 4, can store aquatic life. Creatures will remain alive for 3 days without feeding. Note: effect for reference only. Mixing highly aggressive aquatic creatures will drastically shorten the survival time of other stored life. Not bad at all. From now on, if I catch fish and don't want to eat them right away, I can keep them alive here. Lin Yi thought the fish hold fell just short of perfect, yet was still more than serviceable. Being able to keep his catch alive for 3 days was a valuable feature. It would be especially convenient if he planned to trade with other players later on. The only downside was the cramped space. At roughly 50 centimeters in length, any moderately large fish could not be placed inside. Still, Lin Yi saw no urgent cause for worry. The fishing vessel is level 4, and the fish hold is also level 4. That means this facility upgrades alongside the main craft. Only, the next upgrade demands not just 1,000 units of timber, but also 50 units of iron ore. Iron ore was not unfamiliar to Lin Yi. Superior 1-star supply crates listed iron ore as one of their possible rewards. Even so, that meant he would need to open a total of 15 supply crates to gather enough. Timber was manageable. He could trade seafood for it with other players. Iron ore, however, as far as he knew, hardly anyone besides himself had a reliable way to obtain it. I acted too hastily. If I'd known iron ore would be required, I would have traded all the timber I spent on the last upgrade using purified water instead. The thought of having already opened 2 supply crates earlier made his heart ache. What was done, though. There was no use dwelling on it. What Lin Yi did not know was that somewhere out in the ocean survival world, a pair of venomous eyes was fixed firmly on the chat interface. Damn it. Damn him. This guy named Lin Yi dares to ignore me like this. Li Yaoqian clenched his fists until his knuckles creaked. Colorful tattoos covered his forearms and fists beneath his short-sleeved shirt, marking him as someone not to be crossed. He ground his back teeth, thick veins bulging on his neck. He looked exactly like a cheetah lying in wait to pounce. Fine. You force my hand. I hope I catch you soon. Li Yaoqian spat viciously, his gaze locked onto Lin Yi's coordinates. His confidence stemmed from 2 things: his allies and the vehicle beneath his feet. Another level 4 fishing vessel. So many of my subordinates poured all their resources into upgrading my boat. There's nowhere Lin Yi can run. A cruel smirk tugged at Li Yaoqian's lips. Dozens of his original followers still obeyed his orders. All the resources they gathered themselves and looted from others had been channeled solely to him. Upgrading was inevitable. Reaching level 5 remained out of reach for the time being. Unlike timber, iron ore did not drop at high odds for everyone. In truth, Li Yaoqian had not spotted a single piece of it yet. He also assumed Lin Yi was only one person. In his opinion, getting a craft up to level 3 skiff would have been Lin Yi's absolute limit. As for Lin Yi purchasing 250 units of timber, Li Yaoqian refused to believe it was for upgrading to a level 4 fishing vessel. Only one explanation crossed his mind. Lin Yi was simply stockpiling timber while water prices stayed high, preparing for future needs. Everything will be mined soon enough. Lin Yi, meanwhile, remained unaware of developments elsewhere. He noticed his larger fishing vessel offered far better shade. The awning had previously only covered a small corner, but now he could lie fully stretched out without being exposed to direct sunlight. Best of all, the old bamboo roof had been replaced with solid timber, completely blocking sunlight. Excellent. The level 4 fishing vessel brought such pleasant surprises. I wonder what new features await once I hit level 5. After all, it will cost extra iron ore to upgrade. There has to be something new to gain. Lin Yi thought to himself. Of course, this was only speculation with no solid proof. This ocean survival world can get awfully boring. Lin Yi had already used up all 3 of his daily fishing attempts, leaving him with nothing to occupy his time. The only distraction was reading other players' conversations. Beyond that, he could only stare blankly into space. Endless ocean stretched in every direction. Without some way to pass the hours, anyone would slowly lose their mind. Cast another fishing line? Lin Yi would not be foolish enough to take that risk. With the system backing him, steady, cautious play guaranteed victory. Fishing, while seeming like a reliable way to gather resources, was actually dancing on the brink of death. One wrong pull could ruin his winning hand entirely. Local chat 972 online compared to the early hours of dawn. The survivor count had dwindled further. No one could say how many players had risked going out to fish. Guys, never accept random private messages. 3 people ambushed me just now. I barely escaped with my life. Tell me about it. They extorted 30 units of timber out of me. It hurts to think about. I lost half a bottle of water and 2 loaves of bread. That was the only thing that stopped them catching up. Same here. These people are ruthless. They tricked me into sharing my coordinates via private chat. If I hadn't luckily had a level 3 skiff, I'd be dead right now. Phew, thanks for the heads up, lads. Someone messaged me just now. I'm glad I ignored it. Advice for everyone. Once fishing loses rule protection, don't get greedy. I hooked a regular 3-star catch and was nearly dragged overboard. Same for me. Me too. I can confirm that. I reeled in a superior 1-star supply crate, and my fishing rod nearly snapped with a loud crack. Scared me half to death. It looks like superior 1-star is the absolute limit for this rod. Is there any kind soul who can spare some food? I'll do anything. Oh, anything. I happen to have a set of exam papers right here. Get lost, straight creep. You've made me burst into tears. Ha ha. Sigma males never fall for women's traps. Come on now. I just wanted to give her exam papers to show her the power of knowledge. Sure thing, I totally buy that. After scrolling through the chat, Lin Yi closed the interface and processed all the information he had gathered. This isn't just a chat channel. It's basically a game forum. I always pick up useful intel every time I browse it, whether I need it immediately or not. Lin Yi lay back in the cabin, folded his hands behind his head, and stared up at the wooden roof. He reread the chat logs in his mind and analyzed carefully. Just as I suspected, fishing becomes far riskier once rule protection vanishes. Even regular 3- and 4-star catches nearly broke their rods. Imagine what would happen with higher-tier loot. Lin Yi had never forgotten that his beginner fishing rod started at superior 1-star. That only set the minimum threshold. There was no upper limit. Without protective rules, monsters of any rank could take the bait. His small fishing rod would never withstand such strain. He could not afford to be careless. He also learned about players tricking others into revealing their coordinates via private messages before ambushing them. It seems Li Yaoqian's scheme isn't an isolated case. He has his own gang, and plenty of other players do too. Lin Yi had long realized this truth. What surprised him was how widespread this predatory behavior had become. Players constantly schemed against one another. Those who kindly shared information were not always met with understanding or aid. On the contrary, they might attract greedy attention and lose their lives. Tisk. Lin Yi clicked his tongue, displeased. Li Yaoqian had targeted him personally, so he knew firsthand how loathsome these scavengers were. Still, he could not save everyone, nor did he intend to play the savior. Everyone was responsible for their own survival, but if anyone set their sights on him, he would show no mercy. It's your turn now. Don't let me down. Lin Yi stroked the hover sentry in the cabin, a cold smile tugging at his lips. Unlike most players, he almost hoped Li Yaoqian would come for him soon. For one thing, Lin Yi badly needed resources, and a man who regularly robbed others was sure to carry plenty of valuable loot in his inventory. For another, he wanted to put an end to this lingering threat. As the saying goes, fear not the thief, fear the thief who keeps watching your home. Since someone was lurking and spying, Lin Yi intended to draw them out first. Eliminate the threat once and for all. Li Yaoqian had no idea. While he stalked Lin Yi was equally ready to kill him. Before long, the sun sank below the horizon once more. Days in the ocean survival world always passed remarkably quickly. Night spread across the sky like a thin veil, dotted with faint stars. As darkness fell, subtle disturbances stirred beneath the calm sea surface. Glug glug glug. Bubbles surged upward, and a pair of blood-red eyes snapped open. A large fish swam slowly past, seemingly unaware of any danger. Suddenly, a massive jaw snapped shut. Countless sharp teeth lined its maw. Crack! The sound of splintering fish bones echoed alongside rising bubbles, traveling through the water. In the next instant, the large fish had been torn into 3 pieces. The monster swallowed the middle section whole, leaving only the head and tail floating free. Splash! Even after its meal, the beast remained unsatisfied. It turned in the water, pointing its conical head straight toward the vessel above. The person aboard was none other than Lin Yi. Slightly to the right and rear of his boat, another craft of roughly equal size was closing in. Lin Yi remained oblivious to the approaching danger. He had no idea a predator lurked beneath the peaceful waves, lying in wait. The dark shape in the distance crept nearer, easy to miss without careful observation. But the incoming group were keeping a close watch. Ha ha ha, this Lin Yi is such a fool. He hasn't moved for half a day. Li Yaoqian stared at the distant boat and sneered. Coincidences like this did not happen by chance. The vessel was sitting exactly where Lin Yi's coordinates had been earlier that day. Only one explanation. The craft had not shifted position at all. Is he overconfident, or does he simply not know how to pilot his vehicle? Even if he tries to run, he won't stand much of a chance. Li Yaoqian folded his arms, a look of disdain crossing his face. He had complete faith in his level 4 fishing vessel. Even if Lin Yi fled, he believed he could catch up after a short chase. Before drawing near, he had messaged his subordinates to advance and surround Lin Yi from all directions. No matter which way Lin Yi tried to escape, he would run straight into them. Li Yaoqian watched the distant boat and chose not to strike immediately. He waited quietly for all his men to assemble. Once they were in position, Lin Yi could be eliminated without him needing to lift a finger. That, however, was only Li Yaoqian's wishful thinking. Moreover, the distance was still too great, and night limited visibility. He could not tell that Lin Yi's craft was also a level 4 fishing vessel. Even if the fight went badly for Lin Yi, he would always have the option to flee. Li Yaoqian continued to wait. Meanwhile, as time passed, Lin Yi sensed something amiss. He had been resting in the cabin, but suddenly sat bolt upright. Huh? Why is it so quiet? Before scanning his surroundings, Lin Yi raised an eyebrow. He could not tell if it was his imagination, but for some time now, he had not heard fish leaping out of the water. This unusual silence put him on high alert. Lin Yi crawled to the edge of the boat and looked. His pupils instantly contracted. So many dark silhouettes. He quickly grasped what was happening, a curious cold smile spreading across his face. Even from this distance, he could clearly make out the outlines of small boats. I didn't expect Li Yaoqian to really bring me a surprise. So many of them. There must be 10 boats altogether. Lin Yi took a rough glance and formed a rough estimate. Visibility was limited, especially deep into the night. He dared not lean fully out for a better look. Quite the mobilization. I just hope the hover sentry lives up to expectations. Lin Yi glanced toward the cabin instinctively. The straight-line distance between him and Li Yaoqian's group was still under 15 meters. That meant they had not yet entered the hover sentry's patrol radius. Hover sentry, hold your position for now. Wait until they draw closer, until they cannot escape the attack zone immediately. Only then engage. He had no way of knowing if the sentry could fully understand. Its effective range was far too short, after all. Activation radius, 15 meters. Attack radius, 7 meters. If the targets turned around quickly enough, they might slip outside firing range instantly. Beep. Received. Lin Yi blinked in surprise at the hover sentry's reply. Wow, even this thing acts like an office worker. The robotic template response caught him off guard. Lin Yi refocused his attention and quietly monitored movements. Gradually, the boats drew closer and closer. Before long, they had formed an encirclement. Some positioned themselves on the outer ring to block any breakout attempt by Lin Yi. The remaining 5 skiffs advanced steadily forward, moving in perfect order with no one rushing ahead. It was clear this was not their first time carrying out such an ambush. Otherwise, they would not set up a complete encirclement and coordinate for their main strike force to arrive simultaneously. Li Yaoqian watched from the outermost perimeter, his disdain growing stronger. He must be sleeping soundly. Disaster is practically at his door, and he still hasn't reacted. If he had not checked the chat logs and confirmed Lin Yi's avatar remained online, he would have assumed death. Any ordinary person surrounded like this would have sensed something wrong sooner or later. Yet Lin Yi's boat showed no sign of activity whatsoever. Could he have spotted us and decided to lie in wait on purpose? No. Impossible. Even if Lin Yi was waiting for me, he cannot fight off this many men. The thought crossed Li Yaoqian's mind briefly before he dismissed it. In his eyes, Lin Yi could never plan this far. Even if that had been his intention, it would amount to nothing more than trapping himself. Little did he know that what Li Yaoqian deemed impossible was exactly unfolding. Who was the hunter? Who was the prey? Come on, get a little closer. I'll blow all your heads apart soon. Lin Yi tapped his fingers lightly against the boat planks, growing eager. If the distance were shorter, he would have ordered the hover sentry. His voice was quiet, barely audible above the crash of night waves. 5 meters. 3 meters. 1 meter. As the gap closed, Li Yaoqian's men lit up with joy. Everything was going even smoother than they had imagined, and they had stumbled upon an unexpected bonus. Holy hell, we've struck it rich. It's a level 4 fishing vessel, the same as Brother Qian's. Really, it actually is a fishing boat. Even dismantling it returns 80% of resources. That's nearly 500 units of timber. Ha ha, Lin Yi is as good as dead, and he hasn't even woken up. The men laughed unrestrainedly. As the skiff pulled alongside Lin Yi's fishing vessel, the player took a big stride forward, ready to step aboard. But just then, he thought he heard a sharp shout. Floating sentry. Engage. The moment the voice rang out, cold sweat burst out all over the player's body. He spun around instinctively to look toward the cabin. Terror flooded his eyes, his pupils shrinking to pinpricks. From his view, a streak of crimson light suddenly bloomed inside the dim cabin. It looked as if some form of energy was continuously gathering. Zzz. Abruptly, the light flared violently. A red laser expanded rapidly in his sight before piercing straight through him. Boom. An explosion shattered the silence of the night. More than a dozen players stared blankly toward the source of the red light. The crimson beam cut through flesh, snuffing out the player's life in an instant. Witnessing the scene, every single one of them narrowed their eyes, shock etched across their faces. This. The rest stumbled over words. Staring at the horror unfolding before them, they could not utter a single sentence at first. Their throats bobbed as they swallowed hard. Watch out. It's an ambush. After the brief silence, a scream tore through the darkness. In an instant, everyone snapped out of their daze. They frantically turned their boats around. They no longer cared what was hidden inside, or whether he was alone. If he could instantly kill one of their comrades with a single strike, not even tenfold courage would make them dare test their luck. Who would be the next victim? The faster they charged forward, the quicker they die. They were loyal, but not reckless fools. There was a clear difference between risking death and certain death, and they understood that well. Far away, Li Yaoqian could not make out details through blurry vision. Yet he saw a flash of red light, and one of his men collapsed on the spot. The man's avatar on the interface faded to gray right away. He needed no further explanation to know exactly what had happened. What's going on? What on earth is Lin Yi hiding? The question rose unbidden in Li Yaoqian's mind. But he would not have to wonder for long. Lin Yi had never intended to keep his ace concealed. Floating sentry, attack. Kill them all. At his command, a dark red orb of light lifted into the air, and the floating sentry entered cruise mode. No target entering its attack range would escape. Boom. Another laser pierced straight through a player's heart. Everything happened faster than lightning, leaving the victim no time to react. Run? He set a trap. God, what kind of monster is that beside him? Spare me. Spare me. I was forced into this. Chaos erupted immediately. Some realized turning their boats around would take too long and escape was hopeless, so they bowed their heads and begged for mercy. Lin Yi paid no heed to those hollow pleas. Kill, he said coldly, ignoring their cries entirely. Forced? Don't lie to me. I hate last-minute apologies the most. Lin Yi's gaze turned frosty as he looked over the crowd. If he had not held the floating sentry as his trump card, he would be the one sinking to the bottom of the ocean tonight. What was more, the sentry carried out the killings. He felt no psychological burden whatsoever. Upon receiving the order, the floating sentry switched to full power operation. Zing boom. Roughly every 3 seconds, a beam of light shot forth. Each strike almost always claimed another player's life. Player Lu Rinjia eliminated. Loot acquired. Timber times 10, half bottle of purified water, 1 white steamed bun. Player Jiang Yu eliminated. Loot acquired. 1 loaf of bread. System notifications kept popping up, yet Lin Yi's expression remained unchanged. Though this was his first time taking lives, he felt little sympathy for his enemies. If the roles were reversed, he would only tell the floating sentry, "Your lasers are not fast enough, not ruthless enough." There was a several-second delay after each attack as the sentry recharged energy. That window gave the troublemaking players a chance to flee. Hurry up. That device can't fire nonstop, right? Once we get far enough out of range, it can't hit us. Move. If we put enough distance between us, we'll survive. Though they were out on the sea aboard small skiffs, old speech habits lingered. No one shouted, "Row faster." Everyone simply yelled, "Run." By now, several people had spotted the floating sentry's limitation and shouted the warning. They believed escaping its attack radius would keep them safe. But Lin Yi had no intention of letting them escape. The moment they fled, he gave chase. The Level 4 fishing vessel boasted far superior maneuverability and sailing speed compared to their Level 2 skiffs. They had only themselves to blame for pouring resources into Li Yaoqian. This predicament was of their own making. Lin Yi would show them no mercy. He guided the vessel with his consciousness, steering toward the players who had besieged him. Crafts of this ocean survival world required no oars or physical labor to navigate. The downside was obvious. He had to stay fully focused. If he so much as dozed off, the boat would stop. Split up and run. Someone in the crowd shouted, thinking it the best strategy. By then, the commotion finally alerted Li Yaoqian, who realized something had gone terribly wrong. If Lin Yi lacked overwhelming strength, his men would never panic like this. He did not hesitate for a second. The instant his underlings shouted to scatter, he turned his boat and fled. Loyalty? He cast all thoughts of it aside, terrified of being dragged down if he lingered even a moment too long. At that moment, Lin Yi finally spotted Li Yaoqian. Could that boat be? Visibility was poor in the dark night. Lin Yi caught a faint movement, and turned to see a vessel making a hasty U-turn. The size matches my fishing vessel. That must be the mastermind. I wonder if it's Li Yaoqian. If I can catch him, I'll definitely get a huge haul of timber from dismantling his boat. The thought crossed his mind instantly, but he quickly dismissed it. No, his ship is also level 4. A blind pursuit may fail. I only stand a chance if I can keep him within the floating sentry's firing range. On the other hand, chasing after him and letting all these others escape would be putting the cart before the horse. Lin Yi refocused and steered his boat back into the fray. Every time the vessel cut through the crowd, the floating sentry automatically locked onto viable targets. He could not stop the escaping level 4 ship. There was no reliable way to intercept it. But all the rest sailed level 2 skiffs. None would be allowed to get away. You came here looking for trouble. All of you stay. Lin Yi laughed loudly as he continued the hunt. With his overwhelming speed, even players fleeing in separate directions were easily overtaken. As for begging for mercy, not a chance. Screams of players echoed continuously across the ocean survival world that night. Beneath the night sky, the seawater glowed deep blue. Suddenly, crimson light flared. Plop! A body crashed into the ocean. A short while later, only Lin Yi remained standing on the water. All around him floated abandoned skiffs. Phew, it's over. Lin Yi wiped at the sweat that was not even there and let out a long breath. The most tiring part of the whole ordeal had simply been piloting the boat. The floating sentry had handled every elimination. Still, there were quite a lot of them. Yet they're so poor. Lin Yi tallied up the loot and clicked his tongue in disappointment. Apart from the undismantled skiffs, his gains were meager. 210 timber, 3.5 bottles of purified water, only 9 steamed buns and loaves of bread combined. Calling them poor was almost generous. The one who got away must be Li Yaoqian. All the good supplies are definitely on his ship. Lin Yi was all but certain now. Though he had blocked Li Yaoqian's communications, the man's avatar had stayed lit this entire time, confirming everything. What a shame. If my vessel were level 5, I would have chased him down for sure. But it's not a total loss. I've eliminated so many of his subordinates. He will struggle to operate alone now. I can spend some resources later trading information to track him down. Lin Yi remained calm and rational. Li Yaoqian had lost most of his followers. Rebuilding his power would not be easy. Meanwhile, aided by the system, Lin Yi would reach level 5 vessel before long. When that day came, Li Yaoqian's doom would arrive. With that thought settled, Lin Yi felt no rush. The monk may run, but the temple remains. It was only a matter of time. If he had no system, enduring bullying might be unavoidable. But there were no what-ifs. With the system backing him, he would never swallow such humiliation. If he caught Li Yaoqian, he would make him pay dearly. What use would the system be if he still had to endure unfair treatment? I never realized the gap between ranks was this massive. The floating sentry is merely grade E, yet its power far outstrips grade F units. Lin Yi now clearly understood the disparity between tiers. He had not expected this small automated unit to wield such terrifying destructive power. He gathered his thoughts and set about clearing up the scene. He dismantled every skiff floating on the waves. Even the smallest gain counted. Level 2 skiff dismantled. Obtained. Timber times 10. Level 2 skiff dismantled. Obtained. Timber times 10. Identical notifications rolled on nonstop. Perhaps because the skiffs were low tier, dismantling cost him nothing at all. Building one cost 10 timber, and dismantling returned the full 10 timber. Before long, he gained an additional 160 timber. He drew ever closer to the 1,000 timber threshold required for a level 5 vessel. Too bad the big fish slipped away. Lin Yi stared toward the direction Li Yaoqian had fled, filled with regret. Still, it was inevitable. After all, the man was a ringleader. It was only natural he knew how to protect himself. While Lin Yi pondered, a dark silhouette 7 to 8 meters long swam rapidly through the deep sea. The players' deaths and sinking bodies had immediately drawn it over. Crack! It opened its massive jaws and bit down hard. The sinking body was torn clean in two by its sharp fangs, as fragile as paper. As flesh slid down its throat, the monster's eyes grew even more ferocious. The scarlet glow in its pupils seemed ready to shine through the seawater and illuminate the whole area. Crunch, crunch. It tore at the bodies like a rabid dog, starved for weeks. Small fish foolish enough to swim near and try to scavenge scraps were instantly pierced by its bite. Within seconds, not a single fish remained in the vicinity. Only the monster feasted greedily. As it fed, its body grew visibly larger by the second. Every spurt of growth added 20 to 30 centimeters to its length. When the growth spread across its whole frame, it bulked up drastically. Much like nested dolls, A small outward expansion translated to a massive increase in overall volume. Squelch. Suddenly, something pierced its torso. From the pitch-black depths, a tentacle similar to that of a squid burst out of its body. Yet the monster seemed completely unaware, continuing to tear at the corpses. Oddly enough, the extra tentacle kept pushing chunks of meat toward its mouth. The movement flowed perfectly in unison. It looked less like an extraneous appendage and more like a natural organ belonging to its body, utterly seamless. Gradually, the scent of blood spread through the ocean. Only faint streaks of red reached the surface, the rest diluted in the seawater along the way. Even if some body fragments and tattered cloth drifted upward, Lin-Yi noticed nothing. Even if he had seen them, he would not have paid much mind. This was the ocean survival world. Unknown creatures lurking in the depths were to be expected. He could never have imagined such a monster hid on the seabed, watching him. Lin-Yi remained oblivious. His attention was fixed firmly on the regional chat channel. He had planned to list his spoils on the trade market to acquire more timber, only to discover someone spreading vicious rumors about him. Regional chat 951 people online. Everyone be careful. This Lin-Yi is a monster. Bro, what do you mean? Are you still there? Hey, why did your avatar go dark? Damn, he vanished right after posting. That must mean it's the truth. Wait, it's only been a short while, yet so many survivors are gone. Could Lin-Yi really have killed them all alone? But I remember Lin-Yi traded a lot of timber today. How could he be capable of something like this? Yeah, who knows where he got his purified water? Maybe he's always been like this. We just never found out. Exactly. No one would risk their own lives making up stories. Shit, I messaged him privately earlier. Could he have tracked my location? I need to get away fast. Lin-Yi could not believe how shameless these people were. Trapped with no way to escape, they still chose to slander him in the chat channel. This was terrible news. It would make future trades far more difficult. Fine. Very fine indeed. The moon sank and the sun rose. After an entire night of rumor spreading, Lin-Yi's reputation among the players was thoroughly ruined. The same argument circulated endlessly. No one would risk their lives spreading false tales. Yet this was exactly what had happened. Even if Lin-Yi wanted to explain, almost no one would believe him. People only trusted what they heard and saw. Any further defense fell on deaf ears. More importantly, Lin-Yi did not care what others thought. This was the ocean survival world, not some trivial neighborhood gathering where everyone crossed paths daily. Troublesome? Then ignore them. After last night's battle, he fully understood that raw strength was the only real currency in this survival world. No matter how wealthy or benevolent you were, without power you would only become food for others. As for trading purified water and food for timber, the trade market allowed transactions with no direct conversation. Only his username would be displayed on listings. He would post the goods, and players could buy them or leave them. He did not care if they tried to boycott him. Anyone desperate to survive could not afford to ignore his supplies. They would shout accusations publicly, yet secretly sneak to buy what they needed. 2.5 bottles of water plus 9 buns and loaves traded for 430 timber. Great. Added to my existing stock, I now have 840 timber total. Lin-Yi tallied his inventory, a satisfied smile forming on his face. He kept none of the food and water seized from the fallen players. Having lived comfortably for so long, he instinctively rejected supplies others had used. I need roughly 7 more supply crates to upgrade to a level 5 vessel. Then I can settle scores with Li Yaoqian. A determined grin crossed his face as the thought sank in. He then opened his system panel to claim the daily reward draw. Ding. Today's reward category is upgrade type. Host, please make your selection from the options as soon as possible. Huh? An upgrade? The moment he heard the notification, Lin-Yi raised an eyebrow. Right as confusion crossed his mind, 3 options popped up instantly. Option 1. Novice fishing rod quality plus 5 stars. Daily rule protection attempts increased to 5 times. Maximum fishing yield tier plus 5 stars. Item drop rate slightly improved. Option 2. Fishing vessel level plus 1. Unlock cabin function. Fish hold capacity expanded. Can store fish up to 1 meter long. Option 3. Crude dagger level plus 1. Becomes sharper and tougher. Whoa, we can even upgrade vehicles. The instant the options appeared, Lin-Yi's gaze locked onto the second one. It would advance his current fishing vessel straight to level 5 and unlock the cabin. Sounds like this cabin is a small shelter on board. Lin-Yi stroked his chin, making an initial guess. Still, comparing it to the other rewards, he would gain this feature anyway once he naturally reached level 5. In a way, this choice only let him unlock it ahead of schedule. Hold on, don't rush into a decision. Lin-Yi had been excited at first seeing a desirable option, yet he quickly calmed down. He did not urgently need this upgrade right now. He had nearly gathered all required materials, so there was no hurry. If he picked one of the other rewards instead, he might maximize his long-term gains. He ruled out the third option almost immediately. Upgrading the dagger to make it sharper sounded appealing on the surface, but it was largely useless to him. For one thing, he rarely engaged in close combat. The floating sentinel handled all fighting. For another, he did not need such high quality for a mere utility tool. That left only the first option. Upgrading the fishing rod raises the yield cap, and rule protection attempts rise to 5 times per day. Lin paused, his eyes sharpening as he read the line, seemingly double-checking its meaning. A higher fishing ceiling meant chances to reel in better resources. Putting the tier cap aside, gaining 2 extra protected fishing attempts every day equals 2 full extra days of harvest every 3 days. I never realized the ocean survival world's fishing mechanics are tied directly to fishing rod quality. This was exclusive insider information for Lin and potentially every survivor. Still, he had no intention of sharing it. What difference would it make even if others found out? No one else possessed his way to obtain advanced fishing rods. Spreading the news would only stir up pointless jealousy, nothing more. People would not praise him. They would simply grumble. Why does this person get favored by the ocean survival world despite his deeds? How unfair. I'll pick the first option. I can hold off on upgrading the vessel for now. After only a brief moment of thought, Lin settled on his choice. Ding. Selection confirmed. Novice fishing rod quality plus 5 stars. Successfully upgraded to primary fishing rod. The upgrade changed its name as well, exactly as Lin expected. Primary fishing rod quality, excellent 1 star. The first 5 fishing attempts each day are protected by world rules. Slightly higher chance to catch high-grade loot every cast. Description: fishing yields materials up to fine 1-star quality. Minimum guaranteed drop tier is excellent 1 star. Perfect. Now I should get better drops more often. Lin studied the description, thoroughly satisfied. Unless his luck turned abysmal, he would not keep getting only minimum tier excellent 1-star loot. 5 protected casts. If I fish for a few days, I can gather enough materials to upgrade my vehicle. To Lin directly boosting his vessel to level 5 was tempting, yet it was a one-time gain. In comparison, upgrading the fishing rod promised continuous long-term benefits. Alright, time to cast a couple lines. A wide grin spread across Lin Yi's face. No wonder anglers are so passionate. The thrill of reeling in a catch was utterly addictive. Fishing in the ocean survival world felt almost like cheating. But any ordinary person would leap at such an opportunity. Especially for someone like Lin who consistently pulled valuable loot. Many survivors would burn with envy. Whoosh! A soft whistle cut through the air. The hook arced through the sky and splashed onto the sea surface nearby. Leaning against the cabin in the shade, Lin waited quietly. He wondered what surprise awaited him on the first cast with his new primary fishing rod. Anticipation stirred inside him. Shortly afterward, the fishing rod twitched faintly. Lightning fast, Lin hauled it upward. Fishing successful. Obtained. Beverage supply crate excellent 3-star. Drinks. At the system alert, Lin set down the rod immediately. He could resume fishing later. Opening his backpack, he quickly located the newly acquired crate. Beverage supply crate quality, excellent 3-star. Upon opening, select one reward from the list below. Purified water times 5, cola times 3. 5 bottles of water. 2 more than an excellent 1-star supply crate. Lin quickly worked out the pattern. If the rules held steady, an excellent 2-star crate would grant 4 bottles. For excellent tier beverage crates, each extra star added 1 additional bottle of purified water. A little modest, but I suppose it makes sense. Common and excellent tiers sit at the very bottom of the ocean survival world's quality ranking. Receiving dozens or hundreds of bottles at once would break all balance. Lin accepted the logic readily. Purified water was precious, yet farmable repeatedly. It could never match the value of a primary fishing rod. To put it in gaming terms, even with identical quality tiers, unique gear, rare items, and consumables held vastly different worth. 5 bottles of water versus 3 colas, such a tough call. Lin rubbed his chin and pondered. Suddenly an idea crossed his mind, and he chose the 5 bottles of purified water. His reasoning? Everyone knew chilled cola tasted far better than room temperature cola. The same went for iced tea. Lukewarm versions were dreadful, while chilled ones were fantastic. Without a refrigerator, cola would not bring him much enjoyment right now. My purified water stockpile is growing again. For the moment, Lin decided against trading the water for lumber. He would wait and see what valuable goods appeared on the market later. In the ocean survival world, water and food were hard currency. Demand would remain steady for a long time. While thinking, Lin cast his line once more. Fishing successful. Obtained. Lunch supply crate excellent 2-star. Great. Another meal secured. Lin brightened at the notification. Lunch supply crate quality. Excellent 2-star. Upon opening, select one reward from the list below. Sour spicy shredded potato rice bowl ×3. Eggplant minced pork rice bowl ×2. Spicy diced chicken rice bowl ×2. As usual, 3 options, 1 vegetarian dish and 2 meat dishes, with an extra portion for the vegetarian choice. This time, every meal option was brand new. I'll go with eggplant and minced pork. Lin made up his mind after a short pause. If he kept getting regular drops, he would have plenty of chances to try the other meals. Under current harsh circumstances, spicy dishes were not ideal. Without cold cola to pair it with, spicy diced chicken lacked appeal. Smells incredible. Lin inhaled the aroma, and his stomach rumbled loudly. Still, he resisted eating right away. The food would not vanish from his backpack. He needed to use up his remaining 3 protected casts first. Fishing successful. Obtained. Lunch supply crate excellent 1-star. Fishing successful. Obtained. Material supply crate excellent 2-star. Fishing successful. Obtained. Material supply crate excellent 1-star. His luck dipped over the next 3 casts. He mostly hit the minimum guaranteed reward. The only notable reward was the excellent 2-star material crate. Let's see what extra rewards this higher star tier brings. Lin rubbed his hands eagerly. The detailed panel appeared before him the next second. Material supply crate quality, excellent 2-star. Upon opening, select one reward from the list below, lumber ×200, iron or ×15. Twice as much lumber as before, yet only 5 extra iron or chunks. Lin compared it to the excellent 1-star version. It was not as generous as he hoped, yet still far from disappointing. Lin chose iron ore for both crates without hesitation, gaining 25 chunks in total. He now possessed half the iron required to upgrade his vessel. As long as luck stays decent tomorrow, I can finish the upgrade. A smile tugged at Lin Yi's lips. Extra lumber was easy to come by, but iron ore was extremely hard to source. Few survivors could fish up excellent tier crates, and even fewer would land material crates. Moreover, anyone who did find a material crate would instinctively pick lumber. That much was certain. Players only learned iron ore's purpose once they upgraded their level 3 skiff to a level 4 light boat. The 100 lumber from standard material crates was merely a drop in the bucket against the 500 lumber required for progression. Most survivors only aimed to upgrade to level 3 skiffs to guarantee basic safety, and those 100 lumber satisfied their survival needs perfectly. Lin could only rely on his own fishing to gather iron ore. He abandoned any unrealistic hopes of trading for it. For the leftover lunch crate, I'll pick fish-flavored shredded pork rice bowl. Like all previous rewards, the options were randomized. Lin selected a meal he had not tasted yet. Variety kept meals interesting. I've already had green pepper twice cooked pork. I'll save that choice for next time. If other players heard his thoughts, they might weep in despair. While countless survivors sacrificed their dignity just for a piece of bread, Lin worried about growing tired of his meals. Truly, comparisons hurt deeply. Those who never experience extreme hardship fail to understand how fortunate they are. Lin remained unaware that far beneath the waves, a pair of blood-red eyes locked firmly onto his position. A dark silhouette moved through the water, for massive tentacles swaying gently. From the creature's perspective, the transparent protective barrier surrounding Lin Yi's fishing boat was slowly fading away. Anyone checking the timeline would spot the danger. This marked the 3rd day since everyone arrived in the ocean survival world. Tonight promised to be a sleepless night. Time slipped away, and darkness gradually swallowed the sea. No stars lit the sky. It looked draped in a sheet of black cloth. Strange, is a storm rolling in? Lin glanced upward and frowned. Bad weather spelled trouble for him. His cabin only had a simple awning, open to the wind on all sides. A heavy downpour would soak him to the bone. Worry crept over him. It was merely a guess. He hoped the rain would hold off. As Lin pondered, a colossal beast crept closer through the deep sea, entirely unseen. Gurgle gurgle. Countless tiny bubbles rose as the monster swam forward. On the sea's surface, everything remained eerily calm. This is uncanny. Far quieter than last night. Lin scratched his head, confused. The abnormal silence unsettled him. He had an instinctive feeling something watched him. In that instant, a spindle-shaped shadow streaked swiftly beneath the boat. Its body dwarfed the fishing vessel by a wide margin. Right then, rapid beeping echoed beside him. Beep. Hazard detected within a 15-meter radius. Patrol mode activated automatically. The floating sentinel, previously in standby mode, sprung to life. Its crimson lens blazed bright, primed to unleash an attack at any moment. Whoa, you're not messing around. Lin Yi jolted from the alert. He scanned every direction, yet spotted nothing unusual. Not a single boat, not even a shadow. The atmosphere grew unbearably creepy. It resembled boarding an empty late-night bus after overtime, only for the driver to claim all seats were occupied and tell you to stand. A cold chill would crawl from head to toe, or stepping into an empty elevator inside an abandoned apartment building, only to receive an overload warning before the doors closed. Few people could stay calm in such a scenario. Lin Yi was not fearless enough to brush this off lightly. "Are you giving false alerts?" he muttered to the sentinel while sweeping his gaze across the water. He did not let his guard down just because nothing was visible. Complaints aside, safety came first. And then thud. A heavy impact shook the entire fishing boat violently. It rocked wildly, like a rootless duckweed afloat on the waves. Lin Yi was caught off guard. He dropped flat onto the deck without hesitation. His quick reflexes saved him. The fierce rocking would have hurled him straight into the ocean otherwise. What the hell is going on? Shock washed over Lin Yi. He always respected the ocean, whether on Earth or within this survival realm. He knew countless unknown threats lurked beneath the waves, yet he never expected danger to strike so soon. This can't be right. It's only the third night. A level 4 boat takes this much punishment? Any other survivor's vessel would have capsized instantly. Lin Yi stared in horror and assessed the situation objectively. The collision force exceeded all his expectations. If he sailed a level 3 light boat instead, he would already be in the water facing the monster. Yet that did not mean he was safe. This was merely the beginning. Splash! A great surge of water erupted. Without warning, a gigantic squid tentacle burst above the waves, crashing straight toward Lin Yi's boat. Even in the dim night light, he could clearly see each suction cup covering its surface, a testament to its enormous size. Green mucus clung to the appendage, resembling rotting, infected pus. If the blow landed squarely, the fragile fishing vessel would split clean in two. Before the tentacle struck, a nauseating stench of rotting fish washed over Lin Yi. The foul odor burned his nostrils and nearly made him retch. Watching the attack descend, Lin Yi's pupils constricted. He had no choice but to draw his crude dagger and prepare to fight. No better option remained. At this critical juncture, boom! A scarlet light burst forth violently. In an instant, the massive tentacle that was about to crash down was pierced straight through. Struck by the floating sentinel's attack, the tentacle recoiled sharply as if jolted by electricity. Whoa! All bark and no bite. I almost got intimidated. After regaining his wits, Lin Yi stared in surprise. The creature's assaults looked ferocious, capable of obliterating anything in an instant. He had truly believed he would not survive the night. Now that the floating sentinel had exposed its true strength, Lin Yi saw the truth clearly. It was nothing more than a large beast. Its combat rating would never exceed rank E. Naturally, it outmatched Lin Yi's own rank F power. Yet the gap was not insurmountable. An ordinary human would face a fight to the death if they crossed paths with it. For Lin Yi, however, that was not guaranteed to be the case. As the giant tentacle's defenses were broken by the floating sentinel's strike, the creature's stats materialized before his eyes. Mutated blacktip shark. Combat power, E. Attack, E. Defense, F+. The blacktip shark, a species of requiem shark. It appears to have undergone mutation after being affected by some unknown force. A blacktip shark? Good heavens! Is this thing really a shark? Lin Yi could scarcely believe what he read. He did not know much about marine life, but he was certain sharks were not supposed to possess enormous octopus tentacles. The very idea seemed wrong. Fortunately, everything unfolded just as Lin Yi had predicted. Though the mutated blacktip shark appeared aggressively violent, its overall attributes paled in comparison to the floating sentinel. Its defense stat was merely F+. No wonder the sentinel had neutralized its blow with such ease. Roar! But then, wounded by the attack, the mutated blacktip shark showed no intention of retreating. Instead, it let out a shrill howl and lashed out with 4 tentacles simultaneously, smashing straight toward the fishing vessel. Damn, it's trying to kill me for good. Lin Yi's heart tightened as he watched the 4 tentacles descend, casting a huge shadow overhead. Even with the floating sentinel's overwhelming power, it could only target a single tentacle at a time. Boom! Roar! Red light surged forward, piercing one tentacle instantly. The mutated blacktip shark cried out in agony, yet its attack continued its downward trajectory. Seeing no way to block the incoming strike, Lin Yi darted toward the cabin to take cover. At that exact moment, the remaining 3 tentacles crashed down together. Boom! The tentacles slammed into the water as if swatting a fly. A deafening explosion rippled across the sea, sending towering waves surging upward. The scene resembled an underwater detonation, spraying water high into the sky. Miraculously, the fishing boat avoided catastrophic damage from the assault. Still, countless cracks spread across its hull. It looked as though the vessel might split open at any second, letting seawater flood inside. Lin Yi had taken shelter within the cabin, with the roof shielding him from the blow, and that was what saved his life. Your vessel has sustained severe damage. Repair cost, timber times 210. Commence repairs immediately. Partial repair timber times 100. Full repair. 2 options popped up in front of Lin Yi after the notification. Full repair. He did not hesitate for a single second to select the second choice. In this situation, he dared not take any risks. He could afford to spend 210 units of timber, but he could not guarantee whether the boat would withstand a second attack if he only spent 100 timber for partial repairs. To Lin Yi, the expenditure was well worth it. What good would hundreds of units of timber be if his boat sank and he lost his life? Repair complete. Timber times 210 deducted. The system alert chimed. A flash of light washed over the ship, and the battered vessel was restored to its original condition. The mutated blacktip shark's tentacles had not retracted. They continued thrashing, preparing to coil around the fishing boat and drag it down into the ocean depths. The floating sentinel would not stand idle, however. Having charged its energy for an entire day, it operated at full power. Zing boom. Streaks of scarlet laser fire erupted continuously, targeting the incoming tentacles. Every time the shark's attacks drew near, the sentinel blocked them with pinpoint accuracy. The 2 sides remained locked in a stalemate. The shark failed to seize the fishing boat. Lin Yi stayed inside the cabin, watching the standoff between the floating sentinel and the mutated blacktip shark. Now that matters had reached this point, his nerves finally settled. Surrounded by open sea, there was nowhere to run. Fear would do him no good. It was better to stay calm and let events unfold, rather than panicking. Trusting the floating sentinel was the right choice. Roar! Then the mutated blacktip shark found an opening. It swung 1 tentacle toward the floating sentinel. While the sentinel dodged, another tentacle snaked toward the fishing boat. 1 tentacle was quickly followed by a second. In the blink of an eye, 3 tentacles wrapped around the hull. Lin Yi, sheltered in the cabin, came face to face with the beast once more. A foul stench washed over him immediately. The tentacles were riddled with holes. Most of their suction cups had been blown away by the floating sentinel. Viscous fluid oozed out like pus. Instead of feeling fear, Lin Yi's expression turned grim as he tightened his grip on his dagger. Advance, and you tread the path of the brave. Retreat, and you enter the grave of the coward. Lin Yi did not know many grand philosophies, yet he understood clearly. Moments like this demanded decisive choices. He drove the dagger deep into the tentacle without hesitation, then twisted it sharply clockwise. Roar! The mutated blacktip shark howled in agony, and its tentacles thrashed wildly. Compared to the floating sentinel's strikes, the damage from Lin Yi's dagger was a nuisance. But that twisting motion created a persistent, excruciating pain, driving the shark into a frenzy. Before it could act, the floating sentinel struck faster. Zing! Light converged abruptly. The sentinel's circular lens swept back and forth, locking onto its target. Next instant, a scarlet beam as thick as an arm shot forth. Boom! The moment the sound rang out, every tentacle coiled around the fishing boat was pierced through. As the tentacles had wrapped tightly around the hull, they overlapped one another. By pure chance, the floating sentinel's attack landed precisely where all 4 tentacles converged. A single strike inflicted damage on all of them. Wow! Lin Yi stared in astonishment. Thanks to some ally protection rule, the floating sentinel's laser only wounded the tentacles without dealing any actual harm to the fishing boat. Its control over power output was flawless. Racked by pain from the sentinel's assault, the mutated blacktip shark let out a furious roar. The tentacles wrapped around the hull instantly loosened and retreated into the sea as fast as possible. Lin Yi hastily pulled his dagger free. He feared he would be dragged into the ocean alongside the beast if he hesitated. But the mutated blacktip shark sought to flee. Yet the floating sentinel showed no intention of letting it escape. Bright crimson light welled up inside its lens as it gathered energy. The spherical sentinel glowed pink, and faint crackles of electricity hummed non-stop, the side glow from its charging attack. The next second, boom! A laser beam as wide as a bowl shot downward, piercing straight through the ocean surface. As if guided by eyesight, it locked onto a dark silhouette deep beneath the waves. Bang! A massive spray of water erupted on the sea surface, as though something had exploded underwater. Gurgle gurgle. Steam bubbled up from the water, resembling boiling hot soup. It quickly dispersed into the vast ocean, and the surface cooled once again. Whoa! This floating sentinel went all out. Lin Yi quietly wiped away cold sweat as he witnessed the destruction the sentinel had unleashed. He had never imagined such a terrifying explosive power from the small, delicate-looking device. A direct hit would not merely leave bruises. It would turn its target into mincemeat. Still, thank goodness the floating sentinel belongs to me. A faint smile tugged at Lin Yi's lips. This marked the second time the sentinel had fought since Li Yaoqian and the others besieged him the previous night. Only now had he truly witnessed its full burst potential. As Lin Yi mused to himself, a huge dark silhouette slowly rose toward the surface. Splash! A massive surge of water echoed. The dark shape burst out from beneath the waves. Water parted on either side as its true form was revealed. It was a pitch-black shark roughly 7 meters long. The entire fishing boat looked tiny beside it. Its bloodshot eyes stared outward. Its body was covered in blisters and lesions resembling herpes. Some were as broad as a palm, others no bigger than a fingernail, dotted with dark green specks that looked like infectious virus. Lin Yi's pupils shrank. He instinctively adopted a combat stance. Though he knew he was outmatched, he refused to wait passively for death. Yet a question lingered in his mind. Now that the mutated blacktip shark had surfaced, why had the floating sentinel stopped attacking? The thought had barely crossed his mind when he saw the giant shark's body begin to tilt. Splash! More waves churned violently. In the next instant, the mutated blacktip shark rolled completely onto its back, belly facing upward. It looked no different from a dead fish floating in a pond. E-rank mutated blacktip shark eliminated. Rewards obtained. Mutagen ×1 fine 2, contaminated shark fin ×2, contaminated tentacle ×4, bone meal ×35 fine 1. Nice. Did it break down the shark's corpse into loot? Lin Yi muttered in surprise upon hearing the notification. Whether he could use them or not, all the key parts from the blacktip shark had been dropped without omission. Mutagen F rank. Grade fine 2. Slightly boosts physical attributes upon consumption. Note: it is normal for the user to grow strange appendages or feel unseen eyes watching. Whoa, that can't be right. Lin Yi nearly dropped the item the moment he read the description. What did it mean to grow strange appendages? He lowered his head instinctively to check his body. Only after confirming there was nothing abnormal did he let out a quiet breath. TSK. This stuff should be used sparingly. No? Better not use it at all. He corrected himself halfway through his sentence. The thought of extra limbs sprouting from his body, or sensing invisible eyes staring at him, sent a chill down his spine. Contaminated shark fin grade, fine 1. Tastes like chicken, crisp to bite. Consumption is strongly discouraged. Contaminated tentacle. Grade, fine 1. Unfit for human consumption. Nothing more than an ordinary mutated tentacle. What even are all these things? After reading through the rewards, Lin Yi's expression was filled with nothing but disdain. He did not know what to make of the mutated blacktip shark's drops. It was still an E-rank monster. He and the floating sentinel had barely survived the battle to slay it. Yet all he received were these useless scraps. They could neither be eaten nor utilized. The most frustrating part was that these were monster drops. He could not be certain if they would prove useful someday. Yet for now, they merely took up backpack space. Like chicken bones after a meal, tasteless to eat, yet a waste to throw away. Fortunately, the last item, which surged ahead as a usable resource, did not disappoint him. Bone meal. Grade, fine 1. A rarer upgrade material than timber. Source, slaying mutated marine creatures. Oh, a new upgrade material? Lin Yi raised an eyebrow, staring at the bone meal. 35 units stacked without conflict, following the same inventory rules as timber and iron ore. As an upgrade material, it was clearly a widely usable resource. Its fine 1 grade matched iron ore. That meant nearly every player would find a use for bone meal sooner or later. He simply had no idea what it could be used for yet. Looks like I've unlocked a glimpse of future content. Lin Yi chuckled and closed his backpack interface. Right then, a new system notification popped up. Congratulations, player Lin Yi, for being the first to slay an E-rank mutated creature. An announcement will be broadcast across the ocean survival world, and rewards will be issued. Hide your player name? Hide my name. Lin Yi almost laughed out loud. The choice was obvious. He had risked everything to defeat this mutated blacktip shark, nearly losing his life in the process. He fought not only to survive, but also to prove his strength. The ocean survival world offered the privacy option with good intentions. But did Lin Yi need it? He cared not what others thought. whether they envied him, grew jealous, accused him of showing off, or marked him as a target for looting. So what if they did? What was the point of gaining wealth and glory if you could not show it to the world? Do not hide. Without hesitation, Lin Yi chose to make his identity public. Let others dislike it if they wished. If they had a problem, they could try fighting the floating sentinel first. Regional announcement. Player Lin Yi has achieved the first kill on an E-rank mutated creature. Rewards granted. Title Shark Slacker. Primary hunting crossbow fine 1. Survival supply, crate times 5 superior 1. Material supply, crate times 20 fine 1. 3 consecutive announcements echoed across the entire region, accompanied by text notifications. It was enough to stir up widespread resentment. Those consumed by envy were seething. Local chat 922 users online. Wait, why him? I struggled endlessly just to chase away an F-rank sea turtle. Are you telling me Lin Yi killed an E-rank mutated beast? E-rank? Explain it to me. What even is an E-rank monster? Alright, so he killed it, but why broadcast it? And he gets the title Shark Slacker? Shark Slacker? Is that real? Did the shark really slack off mid-fight? This has to be cheats. I'd stream 2 episodes with Kunkin Rabbit if I'm wrong. Sorry mate, looks like he's playing legit. Just a mix of luck, skill, and sharp instincts. Count me in for that bet. Still, everyone knows Lin Yi must be hacking. Has anyone seen his rewards? Find 1 material supply crates. 20 of them. I couldn't even dream of getting one in this survival world. 20. Enough. I admit I'm jealous. I was trying to pretend I hadn't seen the announcement sob. Same here. Everything was fine until this popped up. Now my neck's itching. I feel like going for a long rope tug of war from a roof beam. Some players typed their messages with tears in their eyes. Naturally, they were not tears of joy. Lin Yi paid no attention to any of these comments. All his focus rested on the rewards he had received. 1 title, 1 weapon, plus 25 supply crates. In an instant, Lin Yi understood what it meant to skyrocket in power. These rewards far outshone the useless junk dropped by the mutated blacktip shark. Let me see what treasures I've got. Lin Yi rubbed his hands together, eager to inspect his loot. He opened the title first, as this was a type of item he had never encountered before. Shark Slacker. Rank, E. Passive, no need to equip to activate. Suppresses all shark-type creatures of equal rank, reducing their movement speed by 15. Note, players rank 2 to 10 will receive similar titles with only a 5 suppression effect. Lin Yi stared at the title, decorated with a shark icon and elegant flowing font, a look of satisfaction crossing his face. A translucent silhouette of a black-tip shark loomed in the background, giving it an extremely imposing aura. Huh, this effect is pretty decent. I didn't expect later players could also get title rewards, but it makes sense after all. Lin Yi stroked his chin and nodded in agreement. Evidently, the ocean survival world retained a hint of humanity. It would not eliminate all other players' chances to survive just because one person pulled far ahead. Of course, none of that mattered much to Lin Yi. His attention was fixed on other gains. For instance, ding, a sudden burst of light stood out sharply against the night. It even lit up a stretch of his large fishing boat. Some glowing text had appeared above Lin Yi's head without him noticing. Taking a closer look, it was none other than the title. Shark Laid Back mode activated. Hey, you actually can equip this title. I thought it was just a joke. What I didn't see coming is that it works like a small night light too. As he spoke, Lin Yi opened the fish hold and glanced inside. Reflected by the stored seawater, he caught sight of the glowing title hovering above him and could not stop grinning. At first he had wondered what difference equipping a title made in a world that was not a game. It only existed on his personal interface. No one else ought to be able to see it. Now he realized he had been thinking too narrowly. Right? I'm in the ocean survival world. I shouldn't keep thinking with my old mindset. Lin Yi nodded and quickly accepted this new quirk of the world. He reached up and patted the air above his head twice to confirm he could not touch the title, then relaxed. It only looked imposing. It could not bump into anything or hinder his movements in the slightest. Speaking of this title, if there's one that affects sharks, that must mean there are other similar titles, right? A smile crept onto Lin Yi's face unconsciously. No one could tell exactly what schemes were swirling through his mind. He then shifted his gaze down to the next item. Basic hunting crossbow. Tier. Excellent 1 star. Can pierce the defenses of F-tier mutated creatures. May craft additional crossbow bolts for use. Comes with 3 initial bolts. 1 bolt regenerates automatically each day, maximum stock of 7. Alright, nothing spectacular. Now that he possessed the floating guardian, Lin Yi could not muster much enthusiasm for the crossbow. Frankly speaking, he still thought his dagger was more practical. For one thing, his marksmanship left much to be desired. On top of that, the crossbow's damage was mediocre. Take the mutated black-fin shark as an example. It could break through the floating guardian's defenses. A hunting crossbow would be useless against it. If he held his dagger instead, he could at least land meaningful wounds. After fiddling with it casually for a moment, Lin Yi stowed the basic hunting crossbow back into his backpack. Survival supply crate. Tier, find 1 star. Upon opening, select 3 rewards from the list below. Selections may be repeated. Purified water times 10, cola times 8, vegetable rice bowl times 8, meat rice bowl times 5, soy milk fried dough sticks set times 8. Note, selected staple food items will be stored as gift boxes inside the backpack and will never spoil. 3 picks out of 5, and each option came in generous quantities. That's surprisingly thoughtful, Linny said half-jokingly. It really was, too. The rules of the ocean survival world were more considerate than he had imagined. He did not need to worry about food going bad after opening survival crates. In a sense, one of the biggest survival headaches had been solved for him. That came as quite a pleasant surprise. Judging purely from rewards and comparing it to the earlier excellent 1-star supply crates, vegetable rice bowls offer the best value. Still, I can't rely solely on that judgment. Beverage crates might be far rarer to fish up than food crates, after all. Then again, I get 3 picks, and there are 5 crates total. No need to overthink it. Lin Yi pondered briefly and made his choice. 8 bottles of cola, 8 servings of vegetable rice bowls, and 8 sets of soy milk and fried dough sticks. The last choice was straightforward. It filled the gap for breakfast meals. As for water, he decided to wait and see how his supplies held out. If he failed to catch more later, he could reserve 1 survival crate entirely for purified water. After tallying up all his loot, it was time for the main event of the night. 20 material supply crates. I've hit the jackpot. Lin Yi rubbed his hands together, his eyes practically sparkling. Earlier in the day, he had been stressing over gathering materials, and now the ocean survival world had handed him exactly what he needed when he needed it most. 20 material crates. With that stockpile, any player with 0 reserves could upgrade directly. What was more, Lin Yi had already stockpiled plenty of materials beforehand. This meant he could preserve all his existing resources. Thank goodness I didn't upgrade my vessel this morning. It would have all been wasted. Lin Yi patted his chest, a surge of relief washing over him. It had been so close. If he had chosen to upgrade his boat instead of his novice fishing rod back then, he would be kicking himself right now. He silently counted his blessings. The process did not matter, only the final result. He currently had 840 timber. After subtracting the 210 used to repair the fishing boat, he still needed another 370 timber to meet the upgrade requirement. On top of that, he required 25 iron ore. That meant he needed to open 6 material crates. Without further delay, he got to work. After the incident with the mutated black-fin shark, every second of hesitation felt like gambling with his life. Once all 6 crates were opened, he had gathered every material required for the vessel upgrade. Upgrade. At Lin Yi's command, bright light burst forth from the fishing boat beneath his feet. As he watched his vessel undergo the upgrade transformation, the tight knot of anxiety in Lin Yi's chest slowly loosened. He had waited nearly 2 days for this moment, constantly weighing how best to allocate his resources. For the time being, his resource shortage was no longer acute. Of course, if other players heard his thoughts, they would probably spit blood in frustration. Aside from people like Li Yaoqian, who relied on a group of followers to hoard resources, almost no one owned a level 4 vessel. Most struggled just to reach a level 3 skiff. And here Lin Yi was, worrying about failing to upgrade his boat to level 5 in time. Sometimes comparisons truly were maddening. Upgrade successful. Congratulations, player Lin Yi. Your vessel has advanced to level 5. As the notification chimed, the radiant light faded. The fishing boat under Lin Yi's feet expanded significantly. The makeshift awning in the center had been replaced by a low, compact cabin. It's exactly as described in the system prompt. Lin Yi immediately recalled the vessel upgrade description he had seen when picking rewards earlier that day. So this is the cabin? Lin Yi ducked his head and stepped inside after opening the door. Though the space felt somewhat cramped, he felt no dissatisfaction, only contentment. Even though temperature shifts at sea aren't extreme, it's noticeably warmer in here. Perfect. No more worrying about rain. At the very least, I won't get soaked. A genuine smile spread across Lin Yi's face. The only downside was the complete lack of furniture. The room was empty. What was more, the door swung inward, eating further into the limited space. Small boat. Level 5. Features, fish hold. Armament, none. Next upgrade cost, timber times 2,000, iron ore times 200. Overall, The panel had not changed drastically. The timber requirement had roughly doubled following the previous scaling pattern. The difference lay in iron ore. Its required quantity had risen sharply. It had been 50 before, now it stood at 200, a fourfold increase. Coupled with the abysmally low spawn rate of iron ore, the next upgrade would be far more difficult. Yet good fortune seemed to keep coming Lin Yi's way. Iron ore is manageable. I can slowly stockpile it. With the system backing me, I have nothing to fear. For now, I should gather more food to trade supplies with other players later. As Lin Yi began mapping out his future plans, he suddenly froze. Another pop-up window had appeared out of nowhere. Wait a minute, what's this? Lin Yi stared in shock, wondering if he was seeing things. Congratulations, player Lin Yi. You are the first to upgrade your vessel to level 5. The Ocean Survival World will broadcast this achievement and issue rewards. Would you like to hide your name? A reward just came out, and now another? Lin Yi muttered instinctively. One could only imagine how furious other players would be if they heard him complain like that. Most people were barely scraping by, not daring to hope for anything. Meanwhile, he was about to trigger a second consecutive world announcement. He even found himself wondering why another reward was being handed out so soon. It was not entirely unreasonable for Lin Yi to feel that way. Logically speaking, upgrading to a level 5 vessel ought to carry the main reward. Killing an E-tier mutated creature was supposed to be a feat no player could accomplish. After all, many players could die just encountering F-tier mutated beasts. Who stood a chance against an E-tier monster? But Lin Yi had broken the expected sequence. He first slew the mutated black-fin shark, then used the reward from that announcement to upgrade his vessel. Everything had happened out of the intended order from the very start. Don't hide my name. Don't bother asking me about trivial stuff like this from now on. Lin Yi waved his hand, slightly exasperated. Announcements and free rewards were always welcome. Constant pop-up confirmations, however, grew tedious. He had no way of knowing if the Ocean Survival World heard his complaint, but that was no longer his concern. Local announcement. Player Lin Yi is the first to upgrade a vessel to level 5. Rewards granted. Title, Water Bears Boats. Boats can race. Beginner Furniture Pack. 3 meal supply. Crate times 3. The rewards came alongside a material supply. Crate times 10 excellent 1-star. The rewards are alright. Nothing spectacular though. Lin Yi smacked his lips, feeling a little underwhelmed. It was obvious this reward package was inferior to the one he had received for slaying the mutated shark. But the rest of the player base was far less calm. Local chat 917 people. Enough already. Can we get some sleep in the middle of the night? Exactly. Hearing about rewards already kept me awake, and now another announcement? A level 5 vessel? I only have a level 2 boat. And you're telling me Lin Yi's already at level 5? Guys, what even is the point of playing now? The Ocean Survival World might as well hand everything over to him. Can he give it to me? I'm a primary school student. Even being a kid won't get you anything. You missed the earlier message. It was already sold for 5 coins. No need to guess. Lin Yi definitely used the materials from the last reward to upgrade his boat. He gets every lucky break there is. Right? Only people like him take shortcuts. Players as handsome as me have to grind, honestly. Wow. I just clicked on that guy's profile. I've seen people insult others over appearances, but never someone bragging about their own looks to mock everyone else. Damn it. Why did I listen and click through? My eyes feel burned now. I warn everyone not to be foolish and click. Have you seen flatbread and cold jelly? Next to that guy, they look tiny. Guys, I can't even imagine how much strain his boat is under. Is there a possibility the raft is surviving by riding him instead? Whoa, now that you mention it, I can see it too. Does no one care how many rewards Lin Yi just got? So what? What are you planning to do? Go rob him? Heh, are you too scared? Cut it out. I hate people like you the most. If you want to die, go alone. Why keep challenging everyone with "Are you scared?" Exactly. I meet plenty of people like this even back at work. Go carry out your stupid plan by yourself instead of annoying us. All talk and no action. Just wait until I get my hands on valuable loot. You'll all be jealous. Anyone interested can message me privately. Lin Yi had no idea he had drawn so much attention. A great many players now had their sights fixed on him, all hungry for his supplies. If Lin Yi knew what they were plotting, he would only call them idiots. Lin Yi remained oblivious to other schemes, just as they could never comprehend his true strength. Right now, he was fully absorbed sorting through his newly acquired loot. First came the new title, similar to his old one, Shark Laid Back Mode activated, only with a different visual design. Its icon depicted a large ship, and the background graphic matched his level 5 small boat. Water Bears Boats. Boats can race. Tier F. Active upon acquisition. No need to manually equip. Increases vessel sailing speed by 10 once activated. Looks pretty solid, Lenny murmured, stroking his chin. A speed boost might sound insignificant at first glance, but Lin Yi knew its value all too well, having once watched an enemy escape beyond his reach. This meant his boat was the fastest among all vessels of the same tier. He could also close the gap on targets with lower-tier boats in the shortest possible time. To anyone else, this title might be a mediocre bonus. For Lin Yi, it was a trump card that could turn fights in his favor. He then moved on to examine the remaining supply crates. 3-meal supply crate. Tier. Excellent 3-star. Opens to yield random simple breakfast, lunch, or dinner meals, mixed meat, and vegetable dishes. Not exactly what I hoped for, but it'll do. It was not an amazing reward, yet he could not bring himself to be too disappointed. If only the loot could be chosen instead of randomized, it would be perfect. Still, this was merely an excellent 3-star crate. He should not expect perfection. At the very least, it provided full daily meals. Lin Yi's gaze drifted to the final new item. Beginner Furniture Pack. Tier, None. Opens to grant the following furniture. Wooden bed ×1, square wooden table ×1, wooden stool ×2. Nice. This is exactly what I needed. Lin Yi's eyes lit up. This could not have arrived at a better moment. I've been sleeping on the floor for 3 days, my whole body aches. It's only a wooden bed with no mattress, but mentally it will make all the difference. Lin Yi was far from ungrateful. He was genuinely satisfied. Out on the open water, other players would be ecstatic just to have a table to sleep on. Resting on hard planks listening to crashing waves was nothing like lying on a proper bed. With that thought, Lin Yi opened the furniture pack to retrieve the wooden bed. Player is placing the wooden bed. Please select fixed mode or movable mode. Fixed mode. Furniture locks in place after placement and cannot be shifted. Only 80 of materials will be refunded if stored back into the backpack. Movable mode. Furniture can be repositioned freely and packed away without disassembly. May slide around if the vessel takes damage. Hey, really well thought out. Lin Yi smiled reading the explanation. Simply put, he could choose whether the furniture fused permanently with the boat. If he opted against fusion, the furniture would likely slide back and forth when waves hit. Choosing fusion carried a trade-off. If he wanted to rearrange later, he would only recover a portion of materials. The choice is obvious. I just want a peaceful night's sleep. Besides, this is only beginner furniture, so the materials aren't valuable anyway. Fixed mode is definitely better. Other players might worry about wasting materials, but Lin Yi had no such concerns. Setting aside rewards from the 2 world announcements, his daily catches from the novice fishing rod already outperformed 99% of all survivors. He made his selection without hesitation and placed the wooden bed in one corner of the cabin. I'll deal with the wooden table tomorrow. Time to sleep. Waves of drowsiness washed over Lin Yi all at once. He had been exhausted ever since the battle with the mutated shark. Now that all his tasks were finished, he laid down on the bed and quickly slipped into deep sleep. Meanwhile, far away on the sea, Li Yaoqian, unwilling to give up, was rallying his followers once again. When he saw players online targeting Lin Yi, he sensed an opportunity. He did not realize he had only escaped last time thanks to a stroke of extreme luck that would never repeat itself. This gathering of raiders would end in bitter regret for him. Luck only struck once. Fortune would not keep favoring him for no reason. Li Yaoqian, however, thought otherwise. His mind was fixed firmly on one goal, seizing every advantage Lin Yi possessed for himself. Seeing so many survivors coveting Lin Yi's supplies, he recognized his opportunity. He quickly sent private messages to the interested players, stoking their resentment in secret. Before long, a clandestine group had formed. Brothers, I hear you all want to deal with Lin Yi, am I right? Li Yaoqian brought up the topic on purpose. The men in the group were no fools. They knew full well he was up to no good, like a weasel paying respects to a chicken. Still, matters had gone this far, and they saw no point in hiding their intentions. While they remained wary of Li Yaoqian, they were eager to learn what scheme the man who had gathered them was plotting. As the saying went, heeding sound advice keeps you from straying down winding paths. That was exactly what they were thinking now. Oh, we wonder what wise plan Brotherly has for gathering us all here. Honestly, I'm curious too. Even if Lin Yi is strong, is there really a need to mobilize such a large group? Who can tell? I think we're overestimating him. Why don't we strike directly? Whatever we grab belongs to whoever gets there first, simple as that. The survivors voiced their opinions one after another. Anyone drawn into this private chat shared the same disposition. Though they kept their words moderately civil, their attitudes betrayed them. Between the lines lay disdain for Lin Yi and distrust of one another. Even though they were open to cooperating, They feared disputes over dividing the loot once they succeeded. Naturally, Li Yaoqian was fully aware of this risk. Otherwise, his years acting as a gang leader would have been a complete waste. To him, these men were nothing more than disposable pawns. Still, before killing Lin Yi, he wanted to minimize casualties. Without that, their chances of victory would plummet. I know what all of you are thinking, but have you considered whether Lin Yi is truly as ordinary as he seems? I might as well tell you. He owns an item that can kill people from a distance. To take him down, we either sneak close when he's unprepared, or we need long-range weapons. Li Yaoqian appeared to be analyzing the situation, yet he was merely recounting his own bitter encounter. His real aim was to test the other survivors. Much to his surprise, he struck lucky. You said a long-range weapon? I've got one. What a coincidence. I have one too. The moment the messages appeared, two players spoke up immediately. The night passed in silence. Only in shadowed corners did men scheme. Li Yaoqian and his crew had no idea how ridiculous their plots were in the face of overwhelming power. Lin Yi would not always escape unscathed. What they failed to grasp was that Lin Yi was no longer the same man as before. The cabin built into the level 5 vessel formed a natural defensive barrier, capable of blocking most surprise assaults. Any attempt to break through the door would inevitably wake Lin Yi. The floating sentinel eliminated that threat entirely. If enemies tried to flee, the level 5 boat boasted formidable speed. Coupled with the tidal buff the waters carry the boat and enable swift sailing, almost no one could outrun him. Gradually, dawn broke. A brand new day arrived. Creak. The cabin door creaked open gently. Lin Yi ducked outside onto the deck, took a deep breath, and stretched lazily. Wonderful. Having a bed really makes all the difference. Only wish I could get a mattress soon. Lin Yi sounded a little glum. Thinking about how far he still was from a fully comfortable life left him feeling unsatisfied. Truly, it's hard to unwind. There's still a long road ahead. Lin Yi shook his head and sighed. If other survivors heard him say that, they would almost certainly choke with frustration. Most players had only just used their 3 daily fishing attempts this morning to upgrade to a level 3 skiff. They had no cabin to shelter from wind and rain, never mind a bed. Yet Lin Yi was already thinking about improving his quality of life, even daydreaming about mattresses. Evidently, people could never truly understand one another's hardships. Lin Yi had no time to dwell on others' struggles. Right now, he only craved the system's daily reward. Ding. Today's reward category, Affix. Host, please make your selection from the following options promptly. A brand new category. Lin Yi's eyes lit up at the notification. Affixes sounded incredibly promising. Might makes right. The greater your strength when throwing any object, the higher your accuracy. Simply exert all your force. Leave the rest to miracles. Lin Yi's eyelids twitched sharply reading the first affix. He drew a sharp breath and silently complained. What did it mean to exert all your strength and leave the rest to miracles? This was practically a legendary throwing skill. In theory, as long as he possessed sufficient strength, hitting targets hundreds of paces away would be effortless. Hold on. Let me read the other options first. Lin Yi shifted his gaze. Voluntary bites. Your fishing rod will never break when casting an empty hook. However, you can no longer obtain resources other than aquatic catches. This affix is quite interesting. It means I can bypass the rule restrictions and reel in more fish. Still, it's too vague. It only guarantees the rod won't snap. There's no promise I can haul catches ashore, or even that fish will bite. Lin Yi quickly ruled it out. He had no great passion for fishing, and the uncertainties were too numerous. To any avid angler among the survivors, though, this would be an irresistible god-tier ability. Who wouldn't want to cast a line in their free time? With this affix, he would not need bait and could ignore system restrictions. In this ocean survival world short of every resource imaginable, it would serve two purposes at once. Others could only dream of such a privilege. Round-the-clock patrol, endurance, alert radius, and attack range of all your electronic devices are doubled. Wow, this one is fantastic. Lin Yi's face brightened seeing the third option. He made up his mind instantly. At first glance, might makes right seemed appealing. But Lin Yi lacked the raw physical power required to make full use of it. In contrast, the round-the-clock patrol affix worked perfectly with his floating sentinel. Endurance, alert radius, attack range, these were its core attributes. The synergy could not be better. Most importantly, the affix applied to all electronic equipment. Whether planning for the near future or the long term, this choice was flawless. Even stranded in the ocean world, Lin Yi did not fool himself into believing the floating sentinel would be his only piece of electronic gear forever. It seemed unlikely there would be no more to come. New equipment might drop from the system, even if none spawned naturally in the ocean. Another advantage struck him. he would not need to keep constant watch himself. The floating sentinel could handle all surveillance duty, leaving him free to relax. Why labor endlessly when he could take it easy? Upon confirming his choice, the affix round-the-clock patrol flowed into Lin Yi's body. He focused on sensing changes, yet noticed nothing different about himself. Instead, a surge of energy rushed toward the floating sentinel. Beep, beep. After 2 short beeps, silence returned. Lin Yi knew the affix had taken effect. Perfect. If something like the last incident happens again, none of those thugs will escape. Lin Yi smiled with satisfaction. The floating sentinel's attack radius and his vessel's sailing speed had both received substantial upgrades. The incident he referred to was Li Yaoqian's attempted raid with his underlings. Though Lin Yi had eliminated all the gang members, Li Yaoqian had managed to flee because their vessels were of equal tier. Lin Yi was certain nothing like that would ever happen again. Anyone who came for him must be prepared to sink to the bottom of the ocean. Now that I've claimed my reward, time to cast a few lines. Lin Yi pulled his fishing rod out of his inventory, dragged out a wooden stool to sit in the shade on the deck, and cast the line gently. He looked just like anglers sitting on small stools along riverbanks. Lin Yi's equipment was less refined than theirs. Yet no other survivor in this ocean world could afford such luxuries. Most players could not even obtain a basic fishing rod, let alone a wooden stool. To get such items, they had to painstakingly upgrade their vessels and hoard resources. Just then, the float on his line twitched sharply and plummeted underwater at great speed. Whoa, this pull, could it be a huge catch? Lin Yi leapt to his feet, reeling the fishing line tight. He had never seen such violent movement in 4 days of fishing, exactly like when a massive fish takes the bait in normal waters. The fishing rod bent into a dramatic arc. If this had not been his first cast of the day, still protected by the system rule, the rod might snap. At long last, after straining relentlessly, he hauled his big catch above the waves. Fishing successful. Obtained. Bubble May's special invitation card, fine 1 star. What on earth is this? Lin Yi stared in surprise at the notification. Bubble Maze? What's a special invitation card? Confused, he stowed his basic fishing rod and opened his inventory to read the details. Bubble Maze special invitation card. Rank, fine 1 star. Event begins in 15 hours 37 minutes. Once the Bubble Maze opens, enter as a special invited guest. You are exempt from the first stage competition. An event? Are you kidding me? Am I playing a cracked version? We even get advance notice of events. Lin Yi marveled, staring at the azure card in his hand. Then a thought struck him. Wait a minute. This invitation skips the first stage. That means this is a premium event ticket. Others have to compete in the opening round, but I don't. Everything clicked into place. He was not the only one aware of the upcoming event. He alone held privileged access. If he guessed correctly, all other survivors would only receive standard entry passes. I see now. Lin Yi clapped his hands and nodded slowly. More tickets would spawn throughout the day, judging by the event start time printed on the card. Calculating roughly, the event would kick off at midnight tonight. Of course, some players might have already obtained tickets without mentioning it in public chat. This just got interesting. Lin Yi stroked his chin and chuckled. An event, and exclusive privileges. Both sounded incredibly tempting. Having figured out what the card meant, he cast his line once more and opened the public chat channel. Scrolling through messages, he saw tickets were dropping fairly commonly. Local chat 916 online guys. Guess what I caught? Bubble Maze entry ticket. Bubble Maze? What's that? Hey, you don't know? I'll share the item description, then you'll understand. No way. This ocean survival world actually has events. Sorry everyone. I didn't mean to overwhelm you with my luck. Quit overhyping yourself. 666. This thread is wild. What's so wild about it? Just read the replies below. Holy hell. Even that meme is floating around here. Meme? Come on, cut it out. Can we focus? I'm trying to find info about the event, and everyone's spamming nonsense. Deal with it. Lin Yi stared at the flood of messages, black lines creeping across his forehead. If question marks could materialize physically, there would be more floating around than the title above his head. What are these people going on about? Have they all lost their minds? Lin Yi frowned, muttering in confusion. It looked like they were obsessing over some internet meme. Why did I have to open the chat channel? These survivors are completely deranged. He regretted it instantly. He had gained 0 useful intelligence, only wading through pointless spam. Twang. Mid-thought, his fishing line went taut. The tip of his basic rod bent all the way down. Whoa, another big catch. Lin Yi's eyes lit up. The resistance felt just as powerful as when he reeled in the Bubble Maze special invitation card. He could clearly feel the strong pull from beneath the waves. Something's not right. Lin Yi could no longer sit calmly. He planted his feet against the edge of the boat for leverage. Veins bulged on his arms, muscle definition standing out clearly. Even so, he could barely pull back. It felt as though the rod might shatter at any second. Puzzled, Lin Yi fought to reel in the line while his mind raced. Hold on. The maximum grade catch for a basic rod is only fine 1 star. Why is this pulling so hard? The invitation card didn't put up this resistance. Comparing the 2 catches left him thoroughly confused. He did not fully understand the world's fishing mechanics. Yet this situation felt deeply abnormal. I hope it doesn't slip the hook. Lin Yi worried aloud. Suddenly, the tension vanished from the line, and he lurched backward, nearly falling onto the deck. Just as he wondered whether the line had snapped or the bait had been stolen, a system alert chimed. He could not make out the full text immediately, yet the sound was music. So this is the thrill of landing a big catch. Thank God the rod held. Lin Yi closed his eyes, overcome with emotion. Wait a second, hold on. Why am I getting sentimental? My casts are protected by system rules. What was there to panic about? Realizing his overreaction, Lin Yi grumbled to himself. Shortly after, a serious thought occurred to him. Never mind. Let me check what I've caught first. Lin Yi opened his inventory and read the item description, stunned for a moment to confirm he had seen correctly. For strip salmon. Rank, fine 1 star. Length, 0.7 meters. Produced by the Ocean Survival World. Parasite-free, excellent flavor. Not a scam, safe to eat raw. Note, remove the live fish from your inventory within 2 minutes, or it will die. Wait a minute. I expected salmon, not 4 strip salmon. Where did this name even come from? At first Lin Yi thought it was a joke, but the Ocean Survival World was full of unexpected creations. Still, the line, not a scam, safe to eat raw, was more than thought-provoking. Whatever. Other people's opinions don't concern me. I don't eat raw fish anyway. Lin Yi smiled and set the thought aside. He walked over to the fish hold and placed the 4 strip salmon inside. There was plenty of room. It fit easily without any crowding. Great. The upgraded boat comes with a much larger fish hold. Lin Yi nodded in satisfaction after inspecting it. Then a sudden realization froze his expression. Oh no, now Lin Bei really is selling 4 strip salmon. Still, one thing at a time. Staring at the lively fish swimming inside the fish hold, Lin Yi fell deep in thought. This salmon is already fine 1 star quality. What would I reel in if the quality goes higher still? There can't be that many tiers left to climb, can there? Lin Yi stroked his chin and frowned slightly. In his estimation, further catches would only be marginally better if they improved at all. That meant fish hit their peak once they reached premium grade. Still, this was not a problem he needed to fixate on right now. A far more pressing matter awaited him. A mere fine 1 star salmon nearly dragged me overboard. I can't rush to upgrade my fishing rod any longer. Even if I do upgrade it, I need to boost my physical stats first. This close call had given him a clear warning. There was no denying the system was a tremendous asset. Yet ultimately, strengthening his own raw capabilities came first. Otherwise, he might end up being pulled into the sea just like before. Having sorted out his priorities, Lin Yi formed a rough benchmark for himself. He pushed the thoughts aside and cast his fishing rod once more. Unfortunately, his luck seemed to have run dry after the first 2 catches. Everything he pulled up afterward was mediocre. Fishing successful. Obtained. Sharp iron axe superior 2 star. Fishing successful. Obtained. Lightweight fishing net superior 1 star. Fishing successful. Obtained. Material supply crate superior 1 star. What even is all this? Black lines streaked across Lin Yi's forehead as he looked over the 3 items. All of them were only superior 1 or 2 star. None were anything impressive. Worse yet, they were barely useful to him. Sharp iron axe. Quality, superior 2 star. A handy tool for felling trees. That's it. Nothing more. Lin Yi spread his hands, feeling cheated. It was a superior grade item, yet its description was so bare bones. Felling trees. Lin Yi glanced out instinctively, then fell silent. Endless ocean stretched in every direction. There were no trees to cut down, not even a single island. Granted, there might be hidden functions not listed in the tooltip. For instance, he could wield it as a weapon in combat. Even so, it was utterly lackluster for Lin Yi. His hover sentry already possessed the 24-hour patrol attribute. Anyone attacking him would first have to break through that line of defense. On top of that, he now owned the first level 5 vessel. With the passive skill A boat carries you, yet may also race across the waves, he gained an extra 10 sailing speed. If Lin Yi ever found himself outmatched in battle, he could always flee. He had no practical use for an axe. Oh well, something is better than nothing. After a moment's consideration, Lin Yi decided not to dwell on it. He would not make absolute assumptions. The axe might come in handy someday. Breaking open hard objects, for example, that sounded reasonably useful. As for the other item, lightweight fishing net. Quality, superior 1 star. Patrick Star, let's go jellyfishing. Great. Another useless trinket. Lenny stared at the fine meshed net, unsure what to think. He shook it gently. It felt unnervingly flimsy. Thankfully, fishing in the ocean survival world required no landing net. If he tried to use this one, it would tear instantly. It might work for catching small bugs, I suppose. That was the only positive evaluation Lin Yi could offer. It was not that he wanted to be harsh, but the net simply left much to be desired. Still, Lin Yi chose not to overcomplain. He had already reeled in 2 top-tier catches earlier. There was no sense being overly picky. If all the best loot kept falling to me, it would be unfair to everyone else. Lin Yi shrugged and smiled. With his daily fishing attempts exhausted, the day was effectively drawing to a close. With nothing else to occupy his time, he opened the regional chat channel again to pass the hours. Thankfully, there were no limits on how often players could send messages. Otherwise, survivors in the ocean survival world would have gone insane from isolation. Unlike Lin Yi, most players had far more fishing attempts available, yet with inconsistent rewards. Once their tries ran out, they were left with nothing to do but sit aboard their skiffs, staring out over the boundless sea, swallowed up by loneliness. The chat channel offered vital distraction to keep them from losing their minds. Regional Chat 916 Online. Guys, guess what I just caught? A sea tilapia. Big deal. I reeled in a meter-long fish yesterday. It's the truth. I was there to witness it. I'm the fish. No lie. I'm the fishing rod. I can back it up too. I'm his boat. Definitely a meter-long catch. I'm the OP's leg hair. Whoa, seeing all these witness accounts, I guess I have to believe it. Is there any guy out there who can spare some food? I'm starving. I can send photos of my legs in black stockings. Whoa, that's one massive python. Holy crap, that scared me too. Ugh, darn Beiji. You nearly blinded me. What's your problem? I kindly offered photos of my legs, and this is how you repay me? Do you think I did this on purpose? I'm trying to lose weight too. I gain weight just drinking water. How is that my fault? Looks like someone's lost her cool. Gaining weight from water? Tell Seer the treasure. The infinite energy has been found. Sis, don't let others get to you. Hold your head high and keep moving forward. Honestly, this ocean survival world is torture for most of us. But she hit the jackpot. Free weight loss training. I thought that was just a joke at first. Now I finally get what people mean by cut snacks first if you want to lose weight. You're all jealous of my beauty. And you, that scheming vixen over there. Don't think bad-mouthing me will get you anything. Do you reckon they'll give you food just because they won't give it to me? Woof woof, complete meltdown incoming. Guys, I'm Jeremy Wade. Look what I found in the ocean survival world. A wild boar. I'm dying of laughter. Let me put it plain and simple. Holding steady, completely unfazed. Wait a second, does she actually think people refuse her food just because she's overweight? If you're begging for help, at least act like it. You witch. Lin Yi smiled as he scrolled through the flood of chat messages. He had only intended to watch the drama unfold, but he felt tempted to add fuel to the fire. After a brief pause, he sent one white steamed bun as a gift. Not to the woman ranting in the chat, though, to the other girl she had insulted. Now this should get interesting. Sending direct gifts in the group chat required no reciprocal trade items. The recipient only needed to accept the offer, and the transfer would be announced publicly for everyone to see. Lin Yi has gifted Zhang Shihua, white steamed bun ×1. The sudden system notice silenced the entire chat channel. It was like a resounding slap across the face of the disruptive woman. A single steamed bun meant almost nothing to Lin Yi. It was far too small to fill anyone's stomach, only useful for trading for timber. Besides, he already had plenty of more filling, varied staple foods. White steamed buns were only for light snacks whenever he was bored. He felt no loss giving one away. More than anything, he looked forward to seeing the woman fly into a rage. Heh, I remember her perfectly. She was one of the loudest voices spreading lies about me when Li Yaoqian's men started the rumors. She also jumped in to mock me during those 2 public announcements last night. Spending other people's resources to act generous, wasn't she? Lin Yi smiled. He could easily picture how livid her face must be behind the screen. Talk about getting instantly contradicted right after running her mouth. Didn't she claim no one would gain anything by taking sides? Well, someone just got a reward. Why the outrage now? Lin Yi leaned back against his bunk and tapped his fingers lightly on the wooden planks, thoroughly enjoying the moment. Let people call him petty if they knew the full story. Lin Yi did not care for their opinions. An eye for an eye was the only rule that mattered to him. Why bottle up grievances? That would only torture himself. The brief lull in the chat channel passed, and chaos erupted once more. The first to respond was Zhang Shihua, the girl who received the bun. Thank you. Thank you, Boss Linny. Ugh. Why did I also stand up to Beiji and get nothing? My heart aches. That one bun would be 3 full meals for me, and he just gave it away like that. Linny, you're deliberately picking a fight with me. I order you to hand over half your supplies, and I might let this slide. Otherwise, once we get back to Blue Star, I'm filing a report on you. Lin Yi let out a genuine laugh after reading that. He had met ignorant people before, but never someone this delusional. Talk about, once we get back to Blue Star? Li Yaoqian had been his first enemy, but even Li Yaoqian was not this foolish. Unsure of Lin Yi's strength, he at least sent his underlings to act as cannon fodder first. This woman dared to issue open threats and acted as if she was completely justified. Before Lin Yi could type a reply, other players could no longer hold back. Whoa, half his supplies? Are you Tom Kinch with that appetite? Are you kidding me? Even to receive half a cultivator's power, you'd need to marry them first. This lady just demands it outright. Count me in. I'll take the supplies. Hand them over. You want this girl? Fine, you can have her. Damn it. See? She's blowing a fuse again. On the far side of the ocean survival world, a woman seething with resentment stared rigidly at the translucent system panel in front of her. She had a broad, rounded face. The line from her cheeks down to her jaw and neck formed an unbroken, cylindrical shape with no discernible curves. Her thick black-rimmed round glasses only amplified the effect. One glance gave the distinct impression she might snap and retort so what, at any second. She had completely lost control of her temper. Her skin, dotted with acne scars, flushed all the way down to her neck, clearly burning with fury. Even so, she refused to acknowledge she was in the wrong. All these scumbags. They have so much food and refuse to share it. Especially that Lin Yi. He's just a shallow playboy who caves the second any cheap woman bats her eyes at him. If we were back in the real world, I could ruin his reputation and make him live under public condemnation for the rest of his life. Yang Jingyu still failed to recognize her own mistake. Even after several days trapped in the ocean survival world, she could not let go of her old mindset. She still naively believed the whole world ought to revolve around her. That's it. Why didn't I think of this earlier? Spreading rumors is my specialty. A malicious scheme suddenly popped into her head, and she grinned widely. She looked every bit like a ravenous beast ready to devour everything in its path. Yang Jingyu opened the chat channel and drafted what she thought was an airless accusation. Within minutes, her clumsy message was posted publicly. Lin Yi the playboy, I know you abandoned a lover and left her with nothing. Transfer half your supplies to me right now, and I'll keep this secret. After hitting send, Yang Jingyu wore a self-satisfied smirk. Spreading rumors cost nothing, and she thought herself brilliantly clever. She believed many men and women had skeletons of this sort hidden in their pasts. She refused to believe Lin Yi could thrive in this survival world without having such a secret to exploit. Yet Yang Jingyu failed to understand one simple truth. Against overwhelming strength, all plots and schemes amounted to nothing. Sure enough, barely after her message went live, Lin Yi's reply appeared. Whoever sends me her coordinates gets 3 steamed buns. Sorry everyone. I never wanted to crush someone with a power gap this huge. No extra words, only unfiltered retaliation. He would cut the problem off at its root. Unlike people who posted empty bounties they never intended to honor, Lin Yi intended to follow through. The steamed bun he gifted earlier had proven his credibility to everyone watching. Still, Yang Jingyu seemed oblivious to how dire her situation had become. Brainwashed by her own arrogance, she remained convinced she held the upper hand. She had no idea Lin Yi intended to hunt her down. The chat channel exploded into a frenzy of excitement. Me? Pick me, brother E. I know where that fat woman is. Over here. I'm close to her location. I can take care of her for you and send proof afterward. Send proof? Dude, that sounds desperate. Hey, read the text properly. I meant send photos as proof. How did you misread that? Ah, I see. I thought you were hiding a trick waiting for others to decode. Brother E, count me in for this opportunity. I'm open to long-term cooperation. Choose me, Brother E, if you'd have me. Whoa, you're all competing this hard. Even steel coils don't twist as fiercely as you lot. Someone's even offering to swear fealty. Lin Yi was stunned by the players' fervor. He had guessed supplies would be scarce, yet never imagined they would be this desperate. 3 steamed buns were enough to persuade someone to risk their life for him. What surprised him even more was an unexpected turn of events. A player suddenly sent him a private message.